We just are going to play. Hello, have you joined us? We are live broadcasting at the Brave, Bold, and Unstoppable Women's Summit, virtual summit, I should say. And so we're going to just have some fun today, get some words of wisdom, and just get in the groove and the energy of really ready to step in and be that brave, bold, and unstoppable woman that is commanding her business empire and building it for her future family, generation, and legacy. So hang tight. We're just getting started. I'm gonna put on some Alicia Keys because we are girls or queens on fire. So ready? Let's go. I've been saying. So burn your eyes, then quickly out the way. You can Hey, ladies, if you can hear me, can you put a yes in the chat, please?
Chat's disabled. The chat is disabled.
Chat is disabled.
Yes, ma'am. And obviously I can hear you.
Just not the music.
Yeah, right. Okay, never mind. That confirms it. I love it.
But Alicia Keys is kind of coming in and out and in and out. So, yeah.
I don't know what it is. Let's see if I can fix it. Gonna get started in about 2 more minutes, ladies. I gotta bring up. She's just looking fine, she's on fire. I'm in a fantasy. Hey, ladies, I'm trying to get the energy pumped up here. So if you can come off and show your beautiful faces, let's start jamming and getting in the groove of things because it's time to elevate the energy. It's Friday, you guys, and the weekend is upon us. And we are going to be getting some nuggets of gold from these wonderful speakers that have said yes to sharing wisdom because they will be key featured speakers at the Washington, D.C. event. I should say Washington, D.C. area event. It's really in Arlington, Virginia. However, so, you know, I don't know if you're familiar with Shaka Khan, but back in the day when I was growing up, Shaka Khan was killing it and she has such an amazing voice. And this song about every woman is absolutely every one of you ladies. So let's pump up that energy, ladies. Come on, don't let me be by myself now. Come on. Can you ladies hear the song?
No, we can't hear the music.
Nope, can't hear it.
Yeah, we can't.
Okay, I think it's time to get started. I want to honor you all and I want to thank you. And I want to say I appreciate you all saying yes to spending time with us this lovely Friday afternoon. So wherever you are, if you could put just, you know, come off mute and shout where you are currently so that we can, you know, honor and represent, help you represent your community, that would be fabulous. So I'm gonna start first. I'm Rochelle Marie Lawson. I am a native Californian, but I am currently in San Antonio, Texas, and I'm happy to be here with all of you. Krystal.
I'm Libby Jason. I am a native Californian, but I live in Franklin, Tennessee.
Ah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Krystal Vernee, and I am in District Heights, Maryland.
Ooh.
I'm Dr. Deborah, and I live in beautiful Racine, Wisconsin, though I'm from Michigan.
All right, we've got the North, the West, the South.
Hello, I am Shatea Baker. I am in Sacramento, California.
Oh, hey, Cali girl.
Hello.
Hello, my name is Nicolette Gordon. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, but currently in Memphis, Tennessee.
Ooh. Hey, Nicolette. Hey, girl, how are you? I didn't know you made that move. We have to catch up.
I didn't move. I'm here for an event, but
Okay.
I'm on the road, so
I got you.
glad
Thank you for being with us today. Any Valerie, Krystal?
I'm Amy Hager. I am currently just south of Washington, D.C. at Lake Anna, Virginia, but born and raised Iowan. So nice to see a little Midwest represented too.
Hey, thank you for joining us.
Krystal Crater out of Orlando, Florida.
Hey, got Florida in the house. Okay. Valerie, don't be shy. Now or never. All righty. Well, welcome, ladies. Welcome to the Brave, Bold, Unstoppable Women's Virtual Summit. Again, I want to really honor your time and letting you know that you made a right decision when you said yes to being in the house with us today. So we have some VIP people that signed up to be VIP people. And if you don't mind, if you're VIP, you signed up to VIP, just come off mute and say you are a VIP.
Hi, I'm sorry. This is Valerie. I was having phone problems.
Hi,
hi, I'm from. I grew up in Bowie, Maryland, and I'm dialing in from Bowie, Maryland. So nice to be here.
Oh, welcome.
I heard some neighbors out there too. So.
Yeah. DMV girl, ladies. Okay, VIPs. Anyone? Don't be shy, ladies. Okay. No worries. All right. So outline for the day. I just want to go over for the day what we're going to talk about. I'm going to start off talking to you all, ladies, and giving you some more information about just unlocking the unlimited possibilities in business. And of course, the speakers that I have with us today are going to continue representing that, as the theme of the Brave, Bold, and Unstoppable Women Summit is building and expanding your business empire. So I'll start off and give you a little bit more background about me if you're not familiar with me. And if you are, you may learn a thing or two more about me. And then what we'll do is we'll have breakout sessions, or we'll have come together as a community and have some dialogue about any breakthroughs that you may have experienced as a speaker was sharing the nuggets of gold and words of wisdom with you. And then we'll come back and after those discussions, or after we finish those discussions, I will ask for you ladies to, if you're comfortable, sharing what you experienced or what you learned or something that you're going to take away with you from today that will help you go forward in helping you to build and expand your business empire. So pretty much that's how the day is going to go. And then we'll have a next speaker come on and we'll go through that same thing. And there'll be time in between for the hot seats for the VIPs. So if you ladies don't have any questions, or if you have questions, feel free to just raise your hand and we'll get you off mute, and then we can take care of your question or any concerns that you may have. Okay, so I'm going to just get started and share some more about me with all of you. My name, of course, is Rochelle Marie Lawson, and I'm known as the Queen of Feeling Fabulous. And when I decided to create the Brave, Bold, and Unstoppable Women Summits in 2019, it was a mission to bring women together in a spirit of community, connection, collaboration, inspiration, empowerment, motivation, and strength. And in all of that, that community helps to uplift every woman that is part of that community, no matter what they're trying to do. So if you think of a balloon bouquet, you think of all those balloons tied together, and if the balloon at the top rises, all the other balloons with that balloon bouquet rises as well. So with regards to the Brave, Bold, Unstoppable Women Summits, one of the missions I have is that we do not forget any women. And we have women that are doing some phenomenal things, but they're not seen, they're not heard, and there's very little recognition for their bravery, their boldness, and their unstoppability. And that's our women veterans. So part of the proceeds from the events of the Brave, Bold, and Unstoppable Women Summits goes towards supporting our women's veterans. And the organization that I support is the Women's Veterans Alliance in Sacramento, California, head up by Director Melissa A. Washington. So because I'm passionate and I've done a lot of things, I started my first business at the age of 21 and a half, and 6 years later, I take that business into being a top 50 women-owned business in Silicon Valley. I created that business in a male-dominated industry, and I was definitely told, who do I think I am, coming into a male, good old boys dominant construction industry and think I'm going to succeed. I also was surrounded one time at a networking event by these big wig general contractors asking me all kinds of questions about what I knew, who I thought I was, and all of this. And one of the guys literally told me, you will be, I guarantee you will be in business, out of business in 2 years, because we are going to do everything possible not to make you succeed. We do not want women in our industry. So I said, okay, you know, I'm a type of gal. As a queen, I say I was a princess in training when I was a little girl, and I grew up to be a queen. As a queen, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to engage in any dialogue with you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, because as my grandmother used to tell me, actions speak louder than words. If you pay attention to actions, even when you're in a networking situation or business meeting, pay attention to actions and then tap into your gut. And your answer that comes to you from your gut is the answer that you need to pay attention to. So as I did that, I, again, take that business to be a top 50 women-owned business in Silicon Valley, and I'm still the majority shareholder of that corporation today. but it wasn't always easy. And I really started that business out of a need because I could not get hired as an electrical engineer in Silicon Valley in the late 80s. And so because I'm from a family of hustler and grinding, as we say, but people that always look for other opportunities to make success. I went back to school, became a registered nurse. And of course, because I have a lot of male energy, I'm the only girl in my whole entire family, I went and worked in the emergency department and trauma and flight nursing and trying to get the most extraneous cases, and worked in a team that I was the only female. So once again, put into a male dominated situation and just killed it and shined with it. And I share this because in the beginning, when I started that business, that first business, I had no idea how to run a business. All I knew is that we needed to make sales, enough sales to cover our expenses. And the expenses were basically our salary so that we could survive and have benefits, okay? That was really the gist of it. But what I discovered was that the most successful women in the history of the world had a process, and they had to overcome some things. And in the process of developing and building and expanding their business empires and their lives, they had to create what I call some fearlessness within them. They had to confront fear. And so every time in that business where, we took off right away and we had those large financial institutions and accounting firms as our clients in the San Francisco Bay Area, I had to learn as I grew, I had to learn a new skill, a new skill set. And one of the things I learned was that it's never okay to be afraid when something that's on the other side has the potential to make your life really come alive. And so I always kept that in mind. And I joined a community. And in this community, they pointed out to me the things that I was confronting, which are fear. And it was fear based on, what if we took on this project of $250,000? Remember, this is in the early 90s. I'm 22 and a half. What if we took on this project for $250,000 and we don't perform? Can they sue us? Or we've never done something that big. That means I have to hire additional employees. The bottom line was all of that was so scary for a girl, a young lady at the age of 22 and a half that had no idea about running a business in the male-dominated world of Silicon Valley. But what I discovered is when I looked at those queens that were commanding and had expanded and commanded their empire, there was 12 attributes that came up, 12 attributes of a queen commanding and expanding her empire. And within those 12 attributes, I say there are some accessories, like we wear our beautiful clothing and we accessorize it to make it even beautiful. As in these 12 attributes that I discovered with Queen, is there are some accessories that go with helping you to build and command your empire. And here's the thing, you can do it in a heart-centered way. Even though I was in a male-dominated industry and I got attacked, I never led into being challenging with them. I allowed myself to stay feminine. I stood there and held my position like a queen commanding her throne, even I had no idea what that was. And I knew that if I believed in myself and if I can confront my own fears, then there was nothing that no man could stop me from doing. And that was the same thing that the most successful queens throughout the history of our world has done. Even Queen Elizabeth, recently deceased, bless her soul, even Queen Elizabeth, she would have not been able to reign all those years without confronting fear many times and being able to stand in her grace, in the grace that she knows is on her dime or serving in her purpose, and confronting those fears and moving through. So one of the first things I say in the accessories of a visionary queen, which is one of the first, I say, distinctions of a queen, is you have to learn how to confront fear. There's perceived fear and there's actual real fear. The perceived is the stuff we make up on our mind. You know, today my tire is flat. I might go out and be driving down the road and listen to my songs as I'm cruising down the highway, and my tire might go out and give me a flat. So I'm not going to drive today. I'm going to stay at home on this beautiful day. You block yourself from a blessing of experiencing grace because you were meant to go on that drive. It could be, again, confronting monetary things where you get a large amount of money flowing into your life. Sometimes people get a large amount of money flowing into their lives and they really don't know how to handle it. And so they end up losing or mismanaging that large amount of money, which could actually have the potential to help their business grow exponentially. So confronting fears is one of the beautiful accessories that we brave, bold, and unstoppable women do all the time. But for those of our sisters that don't have that don't see that, and find themselves and start beating up on themselves internally, it takes us, it takes a community to raise our sisters up to their greatness as well, so that they can see the greatness inside of them that resides all around their essence. So fear, confronting fear is the number one thing. You got to have that courage. So that's the first C and the 3 C's. The second C is commitment. You have to be committed to accomplishing your goals. No one ever said that being a woman entrepreneur is going to be easy. Heck, being a woman in today's society is not even easy. And we've come a long way, ladies, a long, long, long way. However, being committed to accomplishing your goals is a journey that helps you to learn how to evolve as a business owner as you proceed down whatever path you have set out for yourself, whatever vision you have set out for yourself for your business. Being committed to that is utmost important. It's not always going to be easy. It is not always going to be easy. There was a time in my business, my first business, where we were growing so rapidly and I was committed to the growth of making all that money. However, there was more to it. I wasn't committed to really expanding my business because I was having a limited mindset, because my business partner was having a limited mindset as well. We needed to hire employees for a job for a financial institution where they were giving us 832 branches to rewire voice and data cabling. It was going to be a fast moving project and I needed to stack on some additional technicians to handle that job. It was going to cost a couple of $1 million up front, which we didn't necessarily have per se in the bank, but we had it on the books. Long story short, after discussion, it was like, are we committed? I had to say to him, are we committed to growing the business? Or are we committed to just staying small and being able just to make ends meet? If we're committed to staying small and just to make ends meet, let me know, because I can go on and do something else where I could have complete control and command my throne. But if we're committed to having longevity and sustainability, then we have to take a chance. You have to gamble on yourself and you have to be committed, because everything on that journey is not going to be easy. And there are things that are going to come up and you're going to be confronted with, how am I going to get through this? How am I going to make payroll this week when my customers are paying late? How am I going to get all the supplies I need when all the trucks are already full and they're dispersed out to jobs? How am I going to get more employees so rapidly that are actually qualified to the specs of what my company does and be able to get them out to the jobs and be trained by the project managers? It was all of that confronting and all of that knowing that, yeah, it was a little bit of fearfulness that set in. But once I realized that I was committed to growing the company and got the partner committed to that as well, we stayed the journey. And again, I still am the majority shareholder of that corporation today, and it is still one of the top 75 women-owned businesses. However, a queen does not stop trying to expand her empire. So in 2008, I utilized my expertise as a holistic healthcare professional or a holistic Ayurvedic nurse practitioner, as well as my background as an emergency room trauma nurse, and opened up a holistic spa in Northern California. This spa was unique in the fact that it was the first one in the area that specialized in Ayurvedic medicine, and I got very influential clientele from the city, the county, celebrities, athletes, you name it, was coming to this spa. It was making a ton of money. And again, I was confronted with, okay, I'm growing. I got this business. Now this business is really growing. What am I going to do? So I went to a conference. A friend of mine said, girl, you look like you're a little stressed. Let me take you to this conference. We're going to have like a girlfriend time. You know, you do go to these conferences sometimes and you hook up with your girls and, you know, you get conference information, but you also have a really good time. It's networking and bonding with the sisterhood that really reinvigorates that energy. So when you go back to your business, you like, bring it on, right? Okay, so anyways, I went to this conference and I was sitting there listening to this lady. And she asked me some questions. And then long story short, ended up meeting her and one of the ladies that was actually hosting the event. And they said, you can take your business and have it from brick and mortar to a global business. There are so much that you can do online, and then your stuff, your hands-on stuff, you can create VIP days because you already have VIP clientele anyways. You'll probably be all booked up for your VIP days anyways, but you can create VIP days to make the experience and the transformation that more luscious for those that you are meant to serve. So I did that. And then I experienced another profound growth in my business. So now I have one 7-figure business and the other one is already doing 6 figures in a very short time. From that business is what evolved as Blissful Living for You. And in Blissful Living for You, I took the principles of Ayurveda and incorporated them into the business wisdom that I have been utilizing for the last 20 plus years that helped me command that first business and now command my second business. It's all about the mindset. And if your mind is right, then you definitely have to pay attention to your body because your body needs to be right in order for you to be able to generate the wealth and create the long-lasting legacy that you desire to create. Now, not every woman wants to be an entrepreneur because being an entrepreneur is not for the faint at heart. And ladies, you know, it is not for the faint at heart. Being an entrepreneur does require breaking through that fear, staying committed to the journey, no matter how many setbacks you have, because if you know it's your divine true purpose to serve, then you know that you are going to be successful and there are no failures. They're just lessons learned on how not to do something differently. So being committed to that journey and seeing at the end of the road your success, feeling it now and knowing that it is coming to you. And the last thing with regards to all of this is when you make that commitment and you have the experiences and the challenges of a woman entrepreneur, or if you're a lady and you just want to stay as a career professional and kill it in your game and become in a C-suite and expand and command that business entity that you work for, go on with it, girl, go on with it. Not everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur because it's not for the faint at heart. But every time I had a major transformation in my business, it was because of this third accessory that goes in with the visionary queen. You see, when I started that telecommunications installation company, I was a lone ranger in the world of, I'm going to say, I was that little guppy fish swimming in around the world of sharks. And there was one thing that I did know. I knew that I didn't know everything about running a business. I'm a great operations person and I'm diligent. I did every job. I even ran cable, worked in the ER at night in the beginning and ran cable in the daytime because it was what I needed to do. However, I knew that there was aspects of the business that I needed to learn about, because if I did not learn about these aspects, then I would stay small. The business would stay small. And I didn't want that. I never saw myself being small in anything. Even when I was a little tiny, skinny little girl called Princess, I never, ever saw myself being small. I always saw myself being big, right? I always saw myself being big. So it went without me saying, like, I know I needed this help, but I didn't know where to get it. I didn't even know what I needed, but I knew I needed something, because if we were going to continue with this monumental growth and succeed, I needed to know what I needed, what I didn't know. So I stepped out. And here's the other thing, ladies. I was super shy. I could have never talked in front of anybody like this. I remember I'm in my 20s. I could have never did this. But you know, the divine always has a sight for what you need when you don't even know what you need, and it will put it upon your path. And there was these instances that allowed me to overcome my fear of speaking. But as I was going and growing, I joined this community of women called the National Association of Women Business Owners. And if you know the National Association of Women Business Owners, it's a phenomenal organization. And there are women in that organization that own Fortune 500 companies. And so I joined the organization, and right away, I was asked to be on the board of directors. I was the marketing director. Long story short, I served on that board for 8 years. I became president-elect and president. And it was all because this woman saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And because this woman was a very influential woman in Silicon Valley, she began putting me in situations where I had to, one, overcome that fear of speaking in front of people, and two, be connected to the avenues that were going to lead me in my business to grow exponentially. So long story short, I became president-elect. I took that membership from 65 members to 285 members. And once I got off as past president, I kind of stepped back. But it was this community, and during that time was one of my business was first named to the top 50 women-owned businesses in Silicon Valley. And from that recognition, I had people coming to me that would throw in business my way so much that we could not even handle it, and I had to turn it down. So that was one thing that being in a community did for me. It gave me avenues and opportunities and introduction and networking abilities to be with key people that saw things that I needed in my business and knew how to help me. The next thing was when I started that spa and went to that networking event that I just thought, well, we were just going to have a good old girlfriend time, which we did. Don't get me wrong, we did. But I never would have thought that I would have been on the precipice. I didn't even see it. I just was happy serving my high VIP clientele in the spa and just, living that kind of dream life, so to speak. But the divine had something better and greater for me to do. I was limiting my thoughts and my visions about who I was supposed to serve. And he said, you know what, Rochelle, since you're not listening to me, I'm going to put some things upon your path so that you cannot not get out there and serve who you're supposed to serve. So I went to this event. I met these ladies. I joined a community. And in that community, that business went from, very low six-figure, just barely making six figures, to going 4 times higher in revenue. And it continues to grow today. And from that business, I was able to, again, community outreach, community connections, collaborations, empowerment, inspiration, and motivation. There was times where I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And the motivation was, you have to do it because you are meant to serve women around the world in a greater capacity. So I'm like, okay, let me push a little bit longer. It's like when I used to run the 400 meters, let me push that last 100 meters, even though I'm super tired, but I'm going to finish the race. I say this to you all, that it is community that will help you get to wherever you want to be. If you want to build your business, community, the Brave, Bold, Unstoppable Women's community can help you do that. If you want to expand your speaking, the Brave, Bold, Unstoppable Women's community can help you with that. If you want to support another sister and help her up so that she can put on her crown as well, we can do that, because it's all about community. And one of the things that these queens that I studied, and I studied them for many years, did was they had a community. Even the beloved Queen Elizabeth had a community that she could go to that would support her, direct her, guide her, hold her hand, empower her, lift her up, bring her along, go out and have a good time with her. It was a community that these queens had, so they didn't do it alone. No great individual, woman or man, does not succeed in their professional or business life without having a community. And when you think about the Good Old Boys Network, That's a community. Those good old boys exchange information and make introductions and give the inside scoop on, what bank is offering this, or where you can pick up that piece of property, or who you can meet that is going to help you elevate your business. We ladies need to do that as well, because within that community, and when you have that heartfelt connection with, the sisters that are going to help you keep it right and help you to grow and elevate not only your business, but your life, then you really are able to step in to building, expanding, and commanding your business empire on your own terms. So I ask you, ladies, are you ready? Are you ready to truly step in and be unapologetic for being that brave, that bold, and that unstoppable queen that you are? If you are, come off mute and say yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So as we go on, I want to just say we are having several events this year. And the first one is happening August 19th, Saturday, August 19th in the Washington, D.C. area. The next one is going to be October 14th in Atlanta, Georgia. And the last one is going to be November 4th in San Francisco. And so I share this information with you because I want you to understand that what we're going to do today and what we're about to share and what you all are about to experience in the time you spend with us is the information and some of the dialogue that will be shared, parts of the nuggets of gold that will be shared at these events by the speakers that have joined us today. Not only that, there's such an essence when you are in the room with other women that really just come to find out about you and come to connect with you and come to be a part of the mission of being brave, bold, and unstoppable. It's about finding out how you can really step into owning the fact that you want to build and expand your business and not be apologetic about it. So often, ladies, we apologize for taking time out for ourselves. I know I've done it in the past. If you got family or kids or even fur babies, being apologetic for taking time out for ourselves. But we are the number one priorities in our life. And we should make that and we should honor that. So when you come to the Brave, Bold, and Unstoppable Women Summits, you will understand the depth of how when you take yourself and place it in the first place of your life instead of the last thing at the end of the day, that your life will transform. And what transforms within your mind, your body, and your spirit, what transforms within that will also lead to transformation in your relationships, your career, your finances, your ebb and flow in life, your health and well-being. So again, I'm inviting you all to come to the Brave, Bold, and Unstoppable Women Summit if you can, if you're in the area. And please share the information with everyone you know and love and care about in that area. Now, the last thing that I want to say with regards to unlocking the unlimited possibilities in business beyond courage, beyond commitment, and beyond community is once you decide that you are the greatest asset in your life, once you decide and acknowledge that no one on the planet can serve the way you're supposed to serve and how you serve, once you decide and open up to saying, I am ready to receive information that's going to elevate every aspect of my life and my business. And once you decide that the sky is unlimited, then the unlimited possibilities for whatever you're trying to achieve in your life and in your business becomes available to you. But the first and the most biggest hurdles, ladies, and I know you all can relate to this, the first and most biggest hurdle is getting out of here, tapping into your heart, connecting your heart to your midsection, your abdominal sacral area, and knowing and feeling what it feels like to stand in your truth, knowing and what it feels like to say yes to yourself, knowing and understanding and feeling when you make the right connection, because it's not here. I know we've all made connections with people that you wish you never had met them, right? But it's tapping into your heart and your abdominal chakra that will allow you to make those decisions that will lead to courage when you're confronted by fear, that will lead to you staying committed when you just want to give up. That last mile, you on the 15th flight of stairs and you got 2 more flights to go and you just want to give up. When you have that community that says, girl, we know you want to give up, but we behind you here, pushing you up, lifting you up so you can get to that 17th floor. That is what allows the unlimited possibilities in business to open up for you. And that is just a taster. So now that I have completed my time with you, and I want to open it up to any of you. If you have any questions, anything you want to ask me about the summit, anything that came up for you, please come off mute and please feel free to share if you're comfortable with that. Hello? We can't hear you very good. Can you hear me better now? A little better. Go ahead.
Let me turn off my phone and see if that it works better.
Okay, okay. So can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Are you gonna email out the dates and the locations for the summits?
The summits, you mean specific locations like venue information?
Yes, and time and date.
So you can go, and I'll put in the chat right now. You can go to the website for the event. It's unstoppable -women's-summit.com. I put it in the chat. Can you see the chat?
It's not coming up in the chat for me. It says chat disabled.
Yeah, it still says that it's disabled.
That's weird. It's not
And
showing.
you can put it in the question and answer. They can see that.
Yeah, okay. Let me put it
While
in.
you're doing that, I'll say the one thing for me that came up that was really cool. Like, community is a new concept for me. I just learned about that last year. So that was community is everything. Coming from a church environment, like that's what I thought community was. And now it's like this whole new world is like it's like pretty big and awesome. And I'm like, personal development conferences, like what? Like, this is really cool because I'm learning about all these different things from the various communities that I've put myself in, but didn't know how to really, not necessarily leverage the community, but just how to be in the community. So it's like I'm learning a lot and I'm getting a lot now that I've switched my strategy and just connecting with people and being me basically. But that goes back up to your first one, is confronting fear. Like that's the root of all evil. So I always say that fear is like a bear. and everything that I want is on the other side of that bear. Now, what's going to be my strategy to get past the bear? Like, am I going to play dead? Am I going to, like, and I talk about that as a mental health therapist with my clients, like, what's on the other side of your bear? Like, what are you going to do? Like, because some of those techniques are automatic and they don't work. So you have to be able to problem solve on the spot and figure out, like, okay, this is a brown bear, not a black bear. Like, this is different, And so I always talk about that with my clients, because it's everything, and commitment is everything. You can't do nothing without that. So this was really good.
Oh, thank you. So let me ask you, with regards to your clients, and they come to you and they're confronted with fear, do you find that sometimes they have an issue with the commitment part?
Not a lot, not
Okay.
a lot. It's more about they don't like, because I'm always overcoming fear. Like, my friends used to tell me years ago, stop being so scary. Like, that's just the thing. I don't watch horror movies because, like, I'm confronting it. Like, I know my triggers. But what happens is that they don't realize how paralyzing in different areas of their lives. So it's not commitment. It's just like, what I talk to them about is, are you going to let your fear be, and the other people in your world be, a casualty of your inner war? Because it's really based in fear. That's the basis of anxiety. So how are we going to, this is a new situation, yes, a new traumatic one, yes, but how are we going to pull up the root of fear in this situation? Because it was different in the last situation.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, knowing the difference between the black bear and the grizzly bear and the brown bear, it's all different. Your strategy has to be different. And so it's really just making it where it's never a commitment issue, because we want to get better. And I always say we, because I'm a consumer of mental health services, and we want to get better. We just don't know how. And we don't even realize that fear is different depending on the trauma.
Yes, I agree. Thank you. And the one key point that I agree with, really what you said, is that trauma, we hold on to that. So in business, when we take fear that we are confronted with maybe in our life, perceived or real, because there's perceived fear and there's, real fear, right? But when we transfer that into business, it becomes a whole different.
Exactly.
It goes from peach cobbler to, key lime pie or something. Oh, I shouldn't be talking about food right now. But you know what I'm saying? It's the same thing, but it's just different. And I think a lot of times what holds, particularly what I've seen women entrepreneurs back, and particularly to grow the business, is that fear of the unknown. And if you think about it, if you think about whatever is fearful, they say what you think about becomes your reality, and it eventually show up. So helping to support women, we see what our sisters, we see in that, or they, saying, girl, I got this XYZ and I'm a little bit afraid, or, whatever, because women will admit if they're afraid. Men won't. They won't admit they're afraid, and they'll continue going on down the wrong path and make mistakes. But women, we do have the courage to admit when we're afraid. So, there's all different aspects, but when you're confronting fear in business, it's a whole different, I want to say, somewhat psychological game. And
it is, but what you said reminded me of what someone said to me. Fear of the unknown, yes, but what she said to me last year is fear of success. And you hit on that when you were talking about, as you're young and making all this money. It was like, now what do I do now? That's paralyzing too, because it's like, how do I duplicate the process? And so she was like, you're more of afraid of success than anything else. And I was like, whoa.
So true. Here's the other thing. You're like, I'm afraid of, what do I do with this money? Also, when I get the money, what if I lose it? Okay. So you get all this, what if I mismanage it? Like I was saying, what I was like, whatever, it's too much parts, not enough payroll, whatever.
And
but
I gotta hire more people, and to,
exactly. And I don't really want to take out that loan, that line of credit from the bank, because, that's a whole lot. That's a whole nother, aspect of managing and growing my business that I was not prepared for, because I came from a family that didn't talk about finances. I was the first entrepreneur in my family, the first, the youngest, and the only girl. So go figure that. But I learned that on my own. I learned that. And I want to say, in my community, the community, African American community, finances aren't really talked about. And if somebody owns a business, they really, at least when I was growing up, they really didn't talk about the money. They really didn't. And so we're not exposed to that. And even these kids going to college, some of them, if they're not a business major, they're not exposed to anything about running a business or finances. My daughter was a poli-sci major, and she said, "You know what, Mom? Other than you teaching me how to manage my money, there's nothing in college that prepares us how to, once we get out of college." She goes, "I'm in school with these college kids that are smart. They don't know how to manage a check. They don't even know how to pay their bills, write out an envelope. They don't know how to open up a bank account. They don't know how to do anything. And it's not taught to us in college." So they have us go from college to the workplace and expect us to be super adults already and be able to manage our money and our wealth, and wonder why we sometimes have issues and problems handling that. Or, becoming a business owner and getting in the flux of stuff and be like, "I don't know how to do this." And so they end up, again, fear of succeeding, and they circumvent the success, and they end up, not being unsuccessful. But when you're in a community and you're committed and you're really accountable for the courage that you have, and we all have it, then you definitely become unstoppable. All right. Anyone else have any questions? Now we have Miss Valerie Solomon with us as well. And I know Valerie and Nicolette are VIPs. So ladies, do you have anything? This is your opportunity to rapid fire me about anything that I discussed. Valerie? Natalie? Nicolette?
Oh, I'm here. Sorry. As I said, I'm traveling, but I finally reached my destination. I didn't have anything to rapid fire you about right now.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you, sis. Natalie, what about you?
Hello, ladies. How are you?
Good. How are you, beautiful queen?
I am well, beautiful. I think one thing that really kind of stuck with me as I'm going through this journey, and I had the pleasure of attending your last summit, and a lot of things have changed since my last one. But a lot of things have evolved for me as far as how do I view my business, and how do you admit what you don't know, but then trying to figure out how to ask what it is that you don't know to someone and articulate it. Because if you are, you have the gumption and all that great stuff to step out and start your own business, and with the intention of helping others and what have you. And I think the imposter, this is something I talk about on my podcast, about the imposter syndrome of, you go in and you meet these other amazing ladies doing fabulous things, and you're like, well, how do they know, and how do I ask without sounding like I'm not where I'm supposed to be, if that makes sense? Because if you position yourself in such a way that other people look at you and they're like, wow, she seems to have it all together, she must know X, Y, and Z, and you're just sitting there like, I am really just going with the flow. But articulating and having the conversation, having the confidence and the vulnerability to have the conversation, to ask, okay, so how does this business thing work? How do you actually go from point A to point B? And what does this financing stuff look like? How do you know when to hire somebody? How do you know to balance your everyday job, your regular day 9-to-5 job, with what you want to step out on in your passion? And have those conversations so you don't feel like you sound dumb, I guess is the best way for me to
Okay, I love that question. I love that, because it totally relates back to me. And I still suffer from this a bit today, but it totally relates back to me when I was young, and I don't want to keep saying I was young, but I really was young-minded when it came to business. And so when I first started going out, I really thought that I needed to, be that chick that just looked like I knew everything, because I did not want to look dumb. Now, remember, I was probably 25 years old, 26 years old. And I'm going to these meetings with women that are, in their late 40s, 50, old enough to be my mother, even beyond that, and have been having multi-million-dollar businesses. And I'm just this little kid on the block, so to speak. So I did want to come off like I was not intelligent and didn't know, but I did want to find out what I needed to know and what I did not know. So what I would do is, I would have a conversations with the ladies, and I would ask them questions like, say, for instance, I needed to find a really good accountant as a business scaled up. I had no idea about anybody in accounting, right? Just learned that I needed to keep accounting right. So I was having a conversation with one of the ladies, and I'm like, oh, so who do you use as your accountant? And who handles your business, finances? And she was like, oh, it's blah, 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 blah. Oh, I can make the introduction. When I wanted to incorporate the business from being a sole proprietorship to a corporation, I asked another one of the ladies in the networking, we're having a conversation, and I'm like, oh, well, who's your corporate attorney? And she's like, oh, girl, let me give you Jay. He's connected to everybody. He knows everybody, and he's a phenomenal corporate attorney. He's an older man. Just go have a meeting with him. And if it's a fit, you'll be so happy. I went to Jay, had a meeting. He's incorporated my business and, retired 30 years later. So I had to find another one. But there's a way to do it, like I just said, just demonstrated, that it doesn't look like you don't know or you don't have it. It just looks like you're looking for more information or more visual, more contacts for your AKA digital Rolodex. Because everybody has that digital Rolodex from Beyonce to $1 billion Rihanna to all the ladies that are commanded. They have that $1 billion Rolodex, and it's on their phone, that digital one. And when you have that, contact, you're able to tap in to the possibilities of really elevating things. So did that help you?
It did. Thank you.
You're welcome. Because I could relate to that one. I want to be a know-it-all, and I'm not, but I understand that, again, that's what it's all about in the community.
Yeah.
Girl, you will find out stuff. You will find out so much information without anybody even know that you were really searching for the information for yourself. If you want somebody to look at something you're doing, you're like, hey, you know what? Do you mind taking a look at this? Tell me what you like. It's a template or whatever, but tell me what you like if you have the time. I would appreciate it. Simple things like that. And it doesn't come across like you don't know, or you're being, weird, or you just come and get business, or, that kind of stuff. It comes across real authentic, and people will be more willing to share the goods and their key connections when you ask like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. What time are we at? So we're almost at 1 o'clock, and I had us going into breakout rooms and then coming back into the main room. But since we're already in the main room, I want to know how many of you are actually in the area of one of the summits. I know, Natalie, are you still in the DMV?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Anybody else in the DMV area? Or I know Nicolette resides in Atlanta, the A, somewhere around the Atlanta area, right, Nicolette? I know she does.
This is Valerie, the non-VIP Valerie. But
Hi, Valerie.
I am a
you
member
are,
of the,
all of you are VIPs. What are you talking about, girl? I know what you mean.
Well, when you said, yeah, but I am a member of the Women Veterans Alliance, which is how I found out about this. And I am a Navy veteran, and I love that organization and what Melissa does. But the answer to your question was, I'm in the DMV area too.
Oh, are you coming to the live event?
I don't know because this is the first, I only signed up for this a few days ago. And so I haven't looked further into the live event yet. So, but I will.
I would love for you to come. Thank you. First of all, thank you for your service. I want to honor and recognize you. Our women veterans are our forgotten heroes. And me residing in San Antonio, I definitely know that the military city USA is where I reside. However, I don't see my women veterans, and I know they're here plentifully. I see the fellas, and we don't even see you ladies on TV. And I have some phenomenal friends and family that served as military veterans and our women. So thank you for your service. Thanks, Melissa, because I love her, and she will be speaking in San Francisco once again. We had this good synergy. So Valerie, if you can't attend and you know of any other women veterans that would love to come, please have them come. There's very discounted ticket price, and I believe I have a sponsor for some free tickets. They want to come to the event. And if you know a woman veteran in the location that is doing some phenomenal things to help women veterans, please give me her name, because I would like to honor her with an award, and thank her for her service. So
okay, great. Yeah, I'll definitely pass the word. There are a lot of women veterans in this area. So, but so sometimes it's just a connection of there's so much information out there, and trying to get your hands on the right information to the right people. And I think all of us as business owners understand that. So, but I'm happy to spread the word, and
thank you so
look
much.
forward to it. And when I look at the date, I'll see if I can go. But I'd love to make it.
It's Saturday, August 19th. So if you can make it, love to have you. Hey, by the way, what's your business?
My business is veteran writing services. So I provide writing, editing, and consulting services for businesses and organizations.
Oh, I love it. Okay, great. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. And again, thank you for your service. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you being here with us. Yes.
I'm also a veteran. This is Shatea again. I'm also a veteran. I'm in the San Francisco area. So I just went full-time in my private practice, mental health. And so if I could be sponsored, that would be wonderful.
Yes. So what branch of the military?
Air Force.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for your service. Girl, you missed a good time last year, because we had a really good time. So for you, information, yes, you can get a ticket sponsored. I think they're $47 for the vets. And but anyways, it's at the Gallery Park Hotel. Yeah.
I would love to come. I'm also in the Alliance with Melissa.
Oh, cool.
She's speaking I will schedule my stuff around attending for sure.
Okay, we would love to have you. Yes, Melissa will be in the house, and I'm hoping to have as many women veterans as possible. Last year we had a lady that beautiful lady. If you go to the website, you'll scroll down and you'll see pictures of her as I was bringing the women veterans up. But she's in a mobilized wheelchair, and she was 86 years old, so she's probably 87 now, and she served in World War II in the Air Force, when they didn't even allow women they had to be their own separate stuff. And she was amazing. Her words of inspiration, and just her being there in her mobilized wheelchair, came by herself, hung out with us at the VIP cocktail hour, and left by herself. I'm like, if that lady can do it, she's definitely an example of a brave, bold, unstoppable woman. Us youngins, we ain't got no excuses, none. So again, thank you. I hope to see you in San Francisco.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Krystal, this is Libby Jason. I was at an event in Charleston, and it was a women's event, and there were two veteran women that turned stand-up comics.
Oh, really?
And they were great. And I am going to see if they are actually from the Charleston area or where, because they may be able to, I'm going to do the Atlanta event. Maybe they can do that. But they were both really good. And they did like openers and everything. So it worked out really great. So let me check on that for you. And
thank you. That would be fabulous. Fabulous. I'm also trying to get for Atlanta. I don't know if you guys have heard of Fly Girl. Have any of you guys heard of Fly Girl? Her name is Vernee Fly Girl Armour. And she's a good friend of mine. She is a keynote speaker and just amazing, amazing speaker. But she's also the first African-American female combat pilot. And she just has an amazing story about her journey with doing that and being that woman to you know, be a trend-setting, brave, bold, unstoppable woman. So I would, and she's doing amazing things. So I would love to have her if she can, if it fits her schedule, to come to the event so I can honor her and recognize her. And she's, like I said, a really good friend. But if you guys are in any of those areas and you know women veteran or you know other women that you know should be in the house, invite them, let me know, because like I said, there is a corporate sponsor that has donated some tickets for each event. So if you know somebody that you really, whether their professional career and they want to transition or elevate their professional career, or they want to step out and just really build and expand their business, and you know they should be in the house, then you definitely have my permission to invite them. There's going to be some amazing speakers in Atlanta as well. And of course, in the DMV or DC, Maryland, Virginia area. And so, only time to have a few speakers here, and some of the other ladies, their schedules were pretty busy, but we are definitely going to be talking about elevating the business, and it's not an event to be missed. So again, if you can't attend, please share the information and promote it. And I'm gonna, before we close out, share a flyer where the QR code can be available, and you can share that as well. All right, so I'm just gonna go back in, and we're just gonna move it along, and I'm gonna just keep it rolling. That way we can, it is Friday, and so yeah, and who knows how long the internet's gonna work, because it looks like we got thunderstorms rolling in down here in San Antonio, which is, I hope so, but I hope not, because I don't want my power and stuff to go out, but I want it to cool off. Oh, it'll just be muggy. Anyways, I'm digressing. I'm just trying to keep it real. So let's go ahead and bring you up, Dr. Deborah, if you're ready. And
I'm always ready.
oh, see, brave, bold, unstoppable lady right there. So let's go ahead.
I just have to quickly say my first business I did, though I'm not going to talk about businesses today, but it was in the mail field too. I accidentally kind of fell into it. They were doing a grant writing thing with the county, and I was in the rural area, and I did the grant writing thing, and he says, "Oh, well, have you thought of doing lawn care?" I said, "Okay." So I started a lawn care and clean out business. And the men worked for me. But it was kind of fun. But I fell into it. I didn't even know what I was doing.
That's so cool. So let me share this story with you. So I probably, by this time, I was probably like 33, and we had moved from one house to another house in the city. And, I was the person, I was the spouse that did all the yard work. I loved it. I had been doing it since I was a kid. It was like therapeutic. So I was out there cutting the grass one day, and we lived in a lake community, and I was cutting the grass, and people were driving by, and my husband was sitting on the porch, reading the paper or something. And people were driving by looking, and one guy said, he stopped and he said, "How did you get your wife to do that?" And I bet all the other wives say her when they drive by and see, and he's like, "Man, she liked doing it." He goes, "She liked doing it." And I was like, "No, I don't. He makes me come out here." But the funny thing is I really did. And I was just teasing. But I thought, you know what? There's a business in this. I can hire some cute girls, have them, look really nice, train them how to put little combat boots and Daisy Duke shorts on them. And we would clean up in the city. All the men would be hiring us to do their lawn, but the women would be mad. I probably cause some divorces. So I thought about that. The more I thought about it, I was like, "Oh, I probably, because I was sitting on the city council for the city. I'm like, "Oh, that probably is not a good idea."
But yeah, I loved it. I loved to sit on the riding lawnmower and sing. I was just so much fun.
I still love doing the yard work. I mean, I still no, I got this. I know how to do it. Oh, all right, whatever. I'm like, it's therapeutic. Let me do it because I need to. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I don't let my husband touch the bushes. They'll look stupid.
Yeah, you know, one Mother's Day, I was like, they were like, the kids, everyone's like, what do you want for Mother's Day? And I'm like, oh, you know what? I want that new hedger that I saw at Home Depot. I said, you guys were with me, right? Remember when we went to Home Depot? I want that new hedger. And then one Christmas, I'm like, I want a new lawnmower and an edger for the grass.
Oh yeah, I always wanted
a fall day. I wanted tools and yard work.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, not to digress there, but no. Okay.
Yeah, great minds alike. So
many things you were saying though just was resounding with me. And what I'm going to do today, I'm going to talk about actually where you were headed there with confronting fear. And we were talking a lot about fear. So I'm going to give a little fun exercise. I'm going to challenge you to do the things I ask you to do. Okay. I can't see most of you, so I can't tell if you are. But first off, get out a piece of paper or use your phone. You can use the notes section of your phone. That's fine too. And I never good at time, so I'm putting on my stopwatch. Okay. So I'm going to have you use that in a little bit. But the first thing I'm going to do is tell you, we're going to talk about shattering lies. Because lies are what creates our fear, which stops us. And every time that stops us, we don't achieve what we have inside of us. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So my first exercise, I want everybody to find your pulse, either here or up here. Everybody find it? I actually found it this time. Sometimes I can't find it, I just fake it. All right, I have some great news for you. If you can find your pulse, you are alive. And if you're alive, there's no guarantees, but I can pretty much guess that either in the recent past, are now, or in the future going through something called a transition. And transitions are huge. Transitions move us forward or they take us backwards. They can be little transitions, big transitions. I like to equate transitioning to childbirth. Any of you have had children? I did it without the drugs. I was in the Lamaze thing with a kind of thing going, and the tape with the pretty music. So some of my friends rocked out to Queen and Led Zeppelin. I wanted that folk guitar, and I was gonna be the queen. Talk about queen. I was gonna be the queen of giving birth, and then I did so well till I hit transition. See, transition is that time in labor when you see it on the movies, you can see it on TV, where you go, oh, that lady's about to give birth because she's saying crazy things or she's kicking people or something's happening, she's yelling. And my husband and I like to watch the sitcoms, the old ones, and we were watching Golden Girls. Blanche's daughter was giving birth, and she said this absurd thing, which made me feel so good because I actually have said that. And now I know at least the writer, his wife, said this. But let me take you back to the room. I'm doing really good. I hit transition. In walks the doctor. I said, you know that epidural, those pain meds, I want them now. And he looked and he said, well, you're going into transition. You're opening up. You don't need them. You're going to be done in 15 to 20 minutes. I'm like, are you kidding me? Why? I mean, I need them now. So I couldn't do anything to him. So I pulled my husband down and I told him, hey, you're going to die a painful death. But then I said something that Blanche's daughter said. I said, oh my goodness, it's okay. I'll just go home now and keep the baby inside of me. So transitions, the big ones can be really painful or they can be really challenging. Things like getting married, not getting married, getting divorced can be really hard. Having children, not having children, retirement and what that's going to look like. I do a whole speech on that. Toxic relationships, getting rid of them. That can be really, really hard. Getting family members, stepping back from friends and family members so that you can get the positive vibes going. These are some really hard transitions. Some of them are easier, like Fitbits here. Every January, we decide to make a transition to live a better and healthier life. And by April, we're eating that cheesecake and saying, well, we can swim that summer. But so transitions are everywhere. And you're the queen of feeling fabulous. I have to tell you right now, I was the queen of wrong transitions and bad decisions. And that had to change. Thankfully, I'm not there anymore, but I made so many mistakes. But that's a good news for everybody else, because if I can go from that, from making all these wrong decisions and all these bad things, a lot of that had to do with the abuse situations and stuff that I was in and things that were happening to me. But if I can go from that to actually being in my sweet spot, which is having my doctorate and talking to people. I always wanted to be a teacher and an encourager, and now I'm able to do that with the speaking. And, you know, if I can make that, anybody can. And that's huge. The best transition I made in my life was when I got my doctorate. It was the moment that I was being hooded. When you get your doctorate, they put a hood on you. And of course, the guy had to be really short. So I was trying not to fall over. I don't know how the 6-foot guy behind me made it, but I was like this trying to get down, and he put that hood on. And then I walked next to the president of college, and he shook my hand and said, "Congratulations, Dr. Marak." And the angels sang and the heavens opened. But at least it felt like that. But the thing is, that was a big transition. But more important was what I learned getting that doctorate. But you guys see, it was a big transition for me, because when I was in college, I actually had a professor tell me that you have this great mind, great insight, you have great ideas, but nobody will ever hear what you have to say, because you can't do math, or you can't do spelling, you can't do grammar. Nobody's going to hear you. And like I said, duh, I'm speaking. You don't have to write. But I have other ways around that, and I'll get into that in a minute. But the important thing is, you can't let what people want to put on you stop you. But what I learned was about this guy named Professor Dr. Meswell, and he was a researcher, and his wife decided to go, my field is transformational leadership and learning, let me put that in. He decided to go and do a research study because his wife decided to re-enter college in her 50s after raising children. And so he studied women that decide to go into businesses, decide to go back to college and start after they had children. And he wanted to know, you know, what would happen. He didn't set out to find this, but he found something called this one thing. And like I told Michelle, this one thing's like Curly's one thing in City Slickers. It's the same for everybody, but totally different for all of us. And that one thing he found was something called a false horizon. It's that barrier that we butt against when we have decisions, when we start businesses, when we go into new fields. Bam, bam, bam. It's like we can't get past that. It's formed by our culture. It's formed by families, teachers, bullies. It's formed by, oh my goodness, advertising. You know, if your hair looks horrible unless you use their product, right? The whole thing of advertising is to pound us and tell us that we're lacking something and we're missing something. So I really love your hair, who just popped up. Anyway, but you know, there's so many negative messages. It comes from our friends, it comes from our sisters, our brothers, our relatives. And I know I've said things to my children. I always went on the rule that if I said I got frustrated and said something bad, I would say 5 good things to them. I read somewhere one bad thing is negated by 5, but I don't think it's ever totally negated, because these things, when we get them, it starts when we're very small. In my case, I was told at 5 years old. I was out playing with my girlfriend, and the bully in the neighborhood walked up to me. And he looked at me, he said, I know something about you. And I'm like, whatever, you know, he's a bully. And he said, but I do know something about you. My parents were talking, and I've got to tell you right now, your parents don't love you. And I said, well, that's crazy. What are you talking about? My parents love me. They weren't super affectionate, but they were loving and took care of me. And I didn't understand. And he said, well, my parents were talking, and you're this word is a big word like adoption. My parents hadn't told me. I found out from the bully. And he said, what that means is the people you're living with took you despite you being a throwaway baby. My 5-year-old heart shattered. And that started to affect me. I had no skills to deal with that. My parents said I got hysterical for weeks, and I know it impacted me many, many years. College, I was super sensitive about anything that was negative because of that. A couple of years later, I got tonsillitis and adenoiditis, and they wrapped together inside of my throat, and I had a pinhole to breathe through. My parents, who are now scared to let me out of their sight, kept me home during this time, giving me antibiotic. I remember waking up to little shot glasses of soup. And I don't even remember finishing them. They're kind of in my head. Still my go-to, tomato soup. You know, we all have that comfort food. So when I had the surgery, things were better. Oh, by the way, while I'm doing this, that piece of paper or your thing, you might want to write down some of your messages too, if something thing, but I'll give you some more time. But you know, those things that you, like, I felt I wasn't loved. I'm going to tell you, and right now, when I went back to school after that disease, I found I couldn't do things I could do before. I couldn't spell, I couldn't do grammar, math was hard. And to make it worse, I had a teacher who held up my paper and other kids' paper. If you got a D or under, she held it up and made the rest of the class laugh at you. My mom went in, tried to stop it, she never could. So now I'm very young. I'm about 7, 8 years old. And I think I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I can't learn, and I'm not wanted. Even though my parents worked so hard to show me I was wanted, that still stayed inside of me that moment that boy told me that. A lot of us have similar stories about cruel things that people have said to us as children, or put down, or the limitations put on us as women, or by race. You know, I have biracial grandchildren, and they have a real struggle. They don't know where they belong. They're adopted and they have no idea where they belong. And I know they're going through a lot of struggles. All these negative things come at us. And as children, we don't have the capacity to change, but we never, that little child, you want to know where the fear is coming from? It's that little child inside of us. That little child that heard these things, that they're not good enough. And maybe not as severe as I did, or maybe worse than what I went through if you were in a very toxic environment. But it builds and it builds, and our decisions as we go through the years build and build, and we act like we know what we're doing, but there's still that little kid inside of us that's unsure, scared, and afraid. These are the things that build that false horizon, so that when we go to say, what am I going to do with my life? We think, well, maybe I'd like to do this, but I'm not good enough. We start telling ourselves, well, I don't have that talent. I can't do that. So what happened is I developed a program, and some of it started before the doctorate, but during the doctorate, I was learning about the false horizons and negative messages and all these things. And I started thinking, how can I get past some of this? Because I always had that imposter syndrome. I ran businesses. I put plays together. I directed plays. I did all these things. And all the time I felt like, what am I doing? I can't do this. And I did it anyway. I just kind of plowed through it. But I said, okay, why am I feeling different now? And after the abusive messages and the abusive relationship, I went into counseling, and I lucked out to get this woman who did this kind of counseling. I can't think of the name of it, but you have things and it goes from right, left, right, left, right, left. So you start thinking about the things that happen to you, go right, left, right, left, right, left. And it was developed by a woman who had cancer and was watching, believe it or not, these geese go back and forth. And she found that all the fear left her and she started calming. She started feeling more assured. And believe it or not, it works. It brought me through. And those messages are a part of me and still make me a little sad. But it's changed something inside of me because I'm now looking at those messages for what they are. I'm looking at them with eyes wide open, with logic, rather than emotion. Your right side is all that emotion. When you hear things, sometimes you explode and people look at you like, why'd you get mad? It's because they triggered that emotion down in you. You don't even know why you did it. When you look at it logically, you look and say, oh, it's okay. Like we think we have to be perfect and great at everything, but we don't. And that comes from that. Like you were talking in your speech about how you just had to pretend, and somebody else said, how do I ask the questions without looking stupid? Because that's in us. We feel like we're false. We feel like we're just always just falling from one thing to the next. But we can handle those things. And I'm going to go really fast with you, and I want you to try this. I don't know if you wrote anything down, but if not, brainstorm right now. I want you to pick one thing, and I want you to put in this hand. I want you to pick one thing that you think is not true. So if you wrote something down on your list of like, I'm not pretty, but you really think, well, I'm not too bad, really. Or I'm going to use, I'm fat. I was 119 pounds. Look, anorexic when I had my kids, and I thought it was bad. Okay. Us women have a lot of body image problems, and it's put on us. We have to look a certain way. We can't be too skinny, can't be too fat, and we put that stuff on ourselves. So I'm going to grab that. I'm going to grab it in this hand. I'm going to make a fist. It's like a ball. I got a ball. And I believe if you do something physically and say it verbally, it sticks. So take that thought. I'm going to take, I'm fat. I'm going to take it from here, put it in this hand. I know it's really weird. My hands going away, but put it in this hand. And I want you on the count of 3 to throw it over your shoulder. Call it what it is, a lie. So 1, 2, 3. It's a lie. Whatever it is. All right. Yay. My co-host here. Yeah. Okay. Do it again. Take that same thought. I'm fat or whatever you picked. I'm dumb. I'm not athletic, whatever. And put it to this hand. Put it over your shoulder. It's a lie. Now, I don't advise you doing that at your kids' parent-teacher conference, but if you want to do it in Walmart, it's okay, because after all, look how they dress. Santa Claus has pickles. I saw celery. So, but you know, you can also do a smaller version for yourself, just kind of, you know, it's just getting it out of that emotion, putting it over in the logic. Yeah, there you go. You look like you're fixing your hair. Yeah. So, yeah, that what we did there is we did 2 of the steps. We did reconnaissance, which is seeking out our lies and our bad stuff, the things that we fear, the negative messages that impact us. And we did throwing it away. We analyzed, we took some lies and we got rid of them. Now, I'm not saying it happens overnight, but it does work. Just trust me, it does. You think I'm crazy, try me out. Now we're going to look at investigate. And we got some other things. When you really get that list going, you'll have other things down there that you can look at. And you're going to say, well, I'm not sure about some of these, so put them in another category. You're going to see some things that are true, but honestly, you don't care. I'm never going to be a rocket scientist. I can throw that away too. I can't do math. Why would I be a rocket scientist? Now, there might be some other things, though, that impact you. I can't do math, remember? I'm running a business. What do I do? Well, just for every day, we always have this calculator handy with us, right? Also, I can hire an accountant, somebody who does the math. I can do the brainstorming, I can do the organizing, I can do the leading, but they can do the math. You don't have to do everything when you run a business. Well, I did at first, but you know, I had calculator at that time. Didn't have the phones like we do today when I started. But you can find ways around that. But for me, super, super important that I be able to do grammar and spelling. Because remember that guy told me that? So this is a big fear in me. So what did I do? I paid for a program called Grammarly. There's a free version. I paid for the expensive one because it tells you where a colon and a semicolon goes. I never did understand that. Most of us don't. What do you use here? I don't know. But you can, I paid for the program. I paid for my book that's coming out. I paid, and for my dissertation, I had to write a dissertation. I paid for editors. I had friends read it. I sent it into different sources to say, okay, what do you think? What do I need to do here? I had the thoughts, and just because my thoughts were the important part. That's the mechanics. I could press that off. So if there is something that you want to do with the element that you can't, brainstorm around it. I get that off of this campfire song, Going on a Bear Hunt. It says, I'm going on a bear hunt. And the campfire kids come back. I'm going on a bear. Yeah, you got it. I got my binoculars. I'm not scared. I'm not scared. And we all know, and I love that. And as you were talking about that fear, and one of the other ones was talking about the fear, I was thinking of that because how we're doing this in class, going, I'm not scared, you know, and it's bravery, but you really don't have to be afraid. Because see, when you can admit that you can't do something and ask for help and seek out that help, the fear dissipates. Nobody wants to be really truly around someone who can do 100% of everything. Not that there is that person, but when we act like that, sometimes people don't like us. So it's okay to be confident, but confident and say, you know what, I'm really confident in these areas. This is what I do well. But in these areas, I need some help. And that not only frees you, it frees the people you're talking to, because whether they'll admit it or not, they have those areas inside of themselves, and they can start thinking, well, you know, if she can be okay with that, maybe I can too. So not only do you help yourself, you help other people. S is support, the right kind of support. Groups like this, groups with people who want to help, who want to encourage you. You don't want somebody who's going to be so negative like a writing group. I've been in several of those and they're just like, well, that's horrible. I don't know why you use that period there. And they want to tear my baby and just rip it apart. You don't want to do that. Particularly when you're dealing with your fears, when you're dealing with your hurts, you want somebody kind and loving, but you don't want somebody who can say, yeah, sure, you can do anything. You're just awesome. You're wonderful. That may make you feel good, but it's not true. Maybe you need some help in some decisions. So when you're making these kind of decisions on things, you need to get a group of people around you, or a mentor or a coach or someone who can help you with that, who can challenge you, maybe ask you some hard questions. Not pull you down, not raise you so high that you fall, but get you level and ask you questions. Like I do a little thing with a puppet. I'm probably being the puppet to the summit because it's fun. But my puppet, the first one is kind of, oh, you're wonderful. The second one's really rude. And the last one, I tell her, oh, I want to be a rocket scientist. And instead of telling me I'm stupid or telling me I can do everything, my puppet, Daisy, she's lovely. My alter ego looks like me. Anyway, she tells me, she says, well, let me ask you a question. I thought you didn't like math. And I said, well, no, I hate math. And she goes, well, do you know you have to do math to be a rocket scientist? And I'm like, oh, well, I don't want to do that. So you need somebody who's going to help you look at all the things involved. Someone who's going to be truthful with you, but kind, and help you get to that as your own. And you need to surround yourself with these people. We all need these people in our lives. And the last one, like I confessed the other day, I am a Trekkie. I love all things Star Trek. And with Star Trek, I love that, of course, you did confess you like Kirk, but who doesn't? Particularly back in the day, he was pretty cute. And Spock, yeah. Who doesn't like a Vulcan? But like when they're getting ready to send off a ship up into the sky and to go and meet new people, find new worlds, and travel up past any barrier. They have a little catchphrase they say. At the end, Kirk said, second star on the right, straight on to morning. From Hook, I love that. His very last one when he commanded a ship, it was that away. Vernon in Discovery says, let's fly. But my favorite is Captain Picard. And I like what he says. He says, make it so, and then says engage. He never varies from that in all the episodes, including the last ones that he did. But before I close, I want to leave you with something. If you hear nothing else I said, I want you to hear this. You are not the sum of the negative messages you've been told. You are not the sum of your mistakes. You're not the sum of what other people think of you. And you are definitely not the sum of your failures. Because as some wise men have said, you fail and fail till you get it right. It's not quitting that's important. You're not the sum of other people's expectations of you, and there will be many. And sometimes you just got to stand against that and say, but they're not my expectations for me. And the most important, you are not the sum of your worst moment or your biggest mistake. Don't define yourself by that. Don't let it eat you up. But what you are is the sum of your potential. You're the sum of the gifts, the wonderful gifts that we all have inside of us. Some we haven't even discovered yet. Once we get those negative away, we'll start seeing all this good stuff in us. We're the sum of what we can learn and what we can grow into. Most of us, we are the sum of our potential destiny. So I want to leave you with Captain Picard's words. Make it so. Engage. Thank you.
Yes, very nice. Oh my goodness. I love that. I love the close and the aspects of what we are not the sum of. I think so many times.
I even sing when I do the summit.
So many times we get caught up
we do.
Being the sum of just our stuff, and we're not that. So thank you for reminding us, and thank you for allowing us to tap into your nuggets of gold that you are sharing with us, because it is amazing. And sometimes listening to people, you think you got it all and you like ebbing and flowing, but sometimes listening to people and the perspectives they give open up that hidden sharing with us, because it is amazing. And sometimes listening to people, you think you got it all and you like ebbing and flowing, but sometimes listening to people and as I was saying, sometimes it's just very, very interesting how that comes about. So seeing things that we need to conquer and understanding that it's just part of where we are is absolutely perfect. So now what I want to ask and put out to you all that are in attendance is, first of all, let's do a breakthrough session. Did any of you have any breakthroughs with regards to any aspect of what Dr. Deborah was sharing with us? And if so, just please come off mute.
Thank you for the claps, guys. I just saw.
Yeah, amazing. Don't be shy, ladies. I mean, this is the time that, you know,
You don't have to tell stories of yourself or anything, you know.
This is the
I
time.
will say,
Love it.
can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
You know, I'm a therapist and I'm a nerd on top of that. So I'm always taking something away. But everything was great. Everything was great that you said. What knocked my socks off is because I'm not a Trekkie, and people be like, what, why? And I'm like, purposely, like, I don't know. It's just not my thing. However, when you said, find other worlds, that just blew my mind. That blew my mind. But then when you tied it into and make it so, I'm done. Like, wow.
Like mic
That's
drop,
amazing.
right?
It really was. It really was, because, you know, as I'm expanding and as I'm scaling my business, it's like, you know, I know like millions are, whether it's people or dollars, like that's inevitable. However, when you start finding other worlds, it's like, then you take it to a global industry, not just business, but you can explain that in personal life. It's
Exactly.
so relevant to so many different areas of life. And so that was amazing. Everything you said.
Once you get rid of all the junk and you start thinking of things logically and accepting, okay, I'm challenged in this area, but I'm not in that. And once you're able to admit that, you can lead people. And the sky is the limit, because inside of every one of us, some of us will build businesses, some of us will do speaking, some of us will do neighborhood things or volunteer work. Oh, hi, I see you. Hi, Valerie. We have, you know, you don't have to build a multi-million-dollar business, but you might build a business that helps feed people. Like my daughter works in Chicago, and she runs a house that takes care of young mothers that are homeless and helps them get the resources she needs, and they do stuff for the families and support the single moms. So she's not rich, but she's doing something very, very rich. So there's many different kinds of businesses, but even if you do get a lot of money, and that, you know, I never say no on money, but yeah, like I said, I found a business.
And that's why I say whether it's people or money, it doesn't matter. The impact in the people is priceless. But I want to, you said something that reminded me of something. My children are Nigerian, and they have in their culture, in their tribe, a saying that says, "It's not the sky is the limit." If they say, it's the Igbo language, the sky is your starting point. Because, like you said, there's so many other worlds beyond that.
There is.
Love that. I love that. Okay, thank you.
Love
What is the proper pronunciation of your name?
My name is Shatea Baker.
Shatea. Okay, I thought that was like, ooh.
Shatea. Okay, Shatea.
My belief is that our names are the most sacred words that we hear. And I used to really hate it as a little girl when someone would not say my name correctly. It was like scratching the nails on the chalkboard. And I read somewhere that our names are, I think in the Ayurvedic text, that our names are sacred. They're the most sacred and beautiful things.
I hated it too.
So I make it.
I am not Deborah, okay?
My purpose and my passion.
I can't even spell my name right. I'm on a dorm. I am not Deborah, and it's not pronounced that most of the time. It's Deborah anyway. But
I want to make sure that I always say in people's name correctly, because I know it's very sacred. It's our own sense. So our VIPs, Miss Natalie or Miss Nicolette, do you have any questions for the speaker? This is your hot seat. Go, rapid fire, whatever you want to ask.
Thank you. so much, Dr. Rock. I appreciate your delivery, your storytelling, your sharing, and your vulnerability. I think one of the things that resonated with me was having those moments of vulnerability and being okay with them. Because I think a lot of times we all understand we're vulnerable, we can't do certain things, but being able to sit with it and then get through it is its own journey in and of itself. To give yourself that grace to just kind of sit and be like, okay, you know what, I don't have it together. I don't know what is going on. I don't know what happened 2 seconds ago or what's going to happen 2 seconds from now. And it's okay not to know, but I'm going to keep pushing. And having that wherewithal to just kind of, I'm going to see what happens is a beautiful thing. And I think a lot of times in society, I grew up West Indian, and so my family is very strict. I had a very strict upbringing, and everything was very organized, and you did this way, this way, this way. So as I was getting older and realized I had the agency to either do something or not, and be okay with that, and understand that's not a reflection on me as a person, it's just a part of my growth. And a lot of what she said kind of resonated and intertwined with those things for me. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's
you,
awesome.
Emily.
Yeah, I was telling her a story. I got hearing aids, and I didn't want to because it made me look old, but I couldn't hear since my kids were small, and I just kind of flittered through life pretending I knew what people were saying. But then when I got okay with it, it was actually at an aging conference that I was doing a presentation at, and I sat with a group of, we're brainstorming some things in aging. And I said, I just want to tell everybody I'm going to get hearing aids and I'm excited. And everybody clapped and was applauding me. And they said, I'm glad you did that because it's like that. It's just like that. We want to hide things that make us look vulnerable, that make us not look perfect. But when we can go out, yeah, I'm in trouble with that. And people go, yeah, I do too. And then everybody starts sharing. Because you see, we all, no matter how tough we act, we all have that little kid in us.
Oh my goodness, beautifully said. It's so funny. We all go through stuff, and sometimes we all going through stuff at the same time, and we just don't share. But sometimes you might be in the community, so to speak, and you see something, and you're like, dang, you know what, I was going through that. I'm going through that right now. But what you see helps you to get through whatever it is you're going through. Right. So, I mean, I always say you never know what's going to come upon you, and the information that you kind of stumble on in your life, on your path to bliss, that is actually, you think you stumbled upon it, but it was actually meant for you to discover. It just comes in a different conduit than how we envision it to come to us. And that's, being a brave woman is having the vision to be open to that.
Yeah, the thing about speaking is you have to be vulnerable or you're not a good speaker, and you got to tell your stuff. And a guy I was training with on it, he brought up a really good point. He goes, one thing I love about speaking is that when something horrible happens in my family, the first thought I have is not, oh no, something's horrible. I think I can use that. I can use that in my speech. And I thought, oh, I love that, because we can take the awkwardness and the fun stuff, and it's fun, and we can make fun with it, and we can make fun of ourselves. And speaking can be fun that way. So suddenly it may be horrible, but man, I can use that. I can leverage it.
It could be therapeutic because the lesson you learned could be the lesson that you need to share with someone else in that moment. Mm-hmm. Like Nicolette, how about you, darling? Do you have any questions for Dr. Deborah? She may not be able to come off mute. She has her
Raised her hand.
I hit the wrong button. I don't have all the controls, so I can't come on camera. But I did want to say thank you for that. I have to remember, I've seen that before, to throw it away. But I was sitting here doing it where I am, and I was like, yes, I need to do that because there's a lot of things going on right now. I think that's going to help greatly. So I appreciate your sharing.
I didn't get into the depth of that. Just a warning, I don't say this in my speech, but since there's only a few here, it really, really does work. But when you deal with some really emotional issues, it's hard. I'm just telling you right now, it's hard. You'll get very tired. But if you actually just take a couple of days and work through something that's very emotional deep inside of you, like I had to with the adoption, it makes you exhausted. It makes you a little sad. But when you come on the other side, you feel powerful. It is real. It really is real.
No, I think so. Like I said, I was throwing things away in the room kind of quietly, maybe not as robust, but I will be working that.
I say, I love it. To me, it's like, okay, so we all have had to move at one time in our life, right? And you know, when you live in a place for a while, you accumulate things you don't even know that you have. Or I was going through some stuff. Like, why do I have 15 lip glosses, right? And anyways, you accumulate stuff and you don't even know it. And I think that's the same with like our experience in life. We accumulate things that happen to us and we don't even know that we've accumulated until it's time to clean the house, whether it's, you know, you have an incident that happens in your life, you have an awakening, you have a divine, you know, a divine connection that allows you to see things that you couldn't see before. But we all have to go through that cleaning of the house. And it ain't always easy to get rid of that stuff, because some of that stuff we've had for a very long time. It's like my freckles, you know what I mean? It's like I can't easily get rid of my freckles, but get that out, we have that space, it allows for the grace of something beautiful to come into our lives, because there's only so much we can absorb and have. And if our cabinets are full, we can't absorb any more goodness and we can't see what's preventing us from that. But when we start to clean out the cabinets of stuff we no longer need or is no longer of value to us, then that we open up possibilities and we open up space for beautifulness to come into our lives and help us along our journey. And that is what I'm sticking with. This is the Brave, Bold, Unstoppable Women Summit, the virtual summit. And we are having just an amazing dialogue. And I want to let all of you know that I didn't share this before, but we're live streaming on YouTube. So
oh, wow.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that you all know
I didn't know either.
I didn't share it, but I thought, oh, let me share it because, you know, in the context of things, anything we can do to not only empower and enlighten us here, but remember, we're being seen now all over the place. You never know what someone's question or some information that's given that is the game changer for a person's world, a game changer. And again, it's all about spreading our message. And I want to help everyone that's here today in attendance to spread their message globally, because we have the power to change things, ladies. Even if it's just as 9 of us right here, we have the power to change things. Next time it might be 36 of us, or 136 or whatever. But the community will continue to grow as we continue to support each other on our journeys to being brave, bold, and unstoppable. So we are actually ahead of schedule, which is fine, because again, I want to honor everyone's time, but I want to make sure you all get the nuggets of gold that you need, that's feeding your soul. Don't be shy in asking your questions. And we're here. We're all here to support you. So I think, Krystal, girl, are you ready? Because she finna take us on a journey about money and creating wealth. And and that's part of the wellness, wisdom, wealth pillars. And so anything that we can do to help not only strengthen our wealth and building that for, because let me tell you guys something, retirement and coming up on retirement is a trip, because you really got to start looking at your money. And the money you thought you had, because when you working young and you rolling and doling and you getting all that money, there comes a point when you retire that all that automatic cash you were getting stops coming, okay? But you still have the expenses that you had when you were working. And as you age, some of those expenses get more expensive, more than when you were rolling in dough. So anytime that we can get information and nuggets of gold that feeds our wealth pillar and helps us ladies to be independently wealthy, meaning we stand on our own platform and we are at the top of the ancient, the big pyramid in Egypt, and we got our crown on and we got all our beautiful royal jewels and we're looking at it, our vast empire, and we're like, you know what, I'm retired, but doggone it, I got the money to do it. And it's because I paid attention to building my wealth from experts like Miss Krystal, who's gonna drop some nuggets of gold on us. So I am bringing to the stage now. See, the coffee didn't kick in. So I'm about to be super animated because I got to bring that energy up, So I'm bringing to the stage our next speaker, who is also going to be at our live event in the DMV, aka Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia area. It's going to be in Arlington, Virginia, on Saturday, August 19th, Miss Krystal Vernee. Krystal, girl, what you got for us today?
Hi, everybody. Hi, ladies. Super excited to be here. And today I'm going to be talking about generating evergreen leads in your online business. I actually have slides, and anything that I'm teaching, please make sure that you ask questions. I love questions. I am the product of educators, and so I love interaction, questions, all the things. Please don't be shy. That is the reason why I'm here. And as I always tell my clients or anybody that I'm working with or just speaking, there's always value in being in the room. So congratulations, you all are in the room today, whether it's in person or in virtual setting. And so you're here to get the nuggets, as Rochelle said, about whatever you need to build your business, and generating leads is one of the things that's going to help you be able to do that. So for those of you who aren't familiar with me, I'm Krystal Vernee, and I'm passionate about helping entrepreneurs monetize their expertise and create multiple income streams. Also the founder of Simply Slay Hard Every Day. So I'm all about empowering women and creating excellence in entrepreneurship. One of my goals, or I would say mission in life, is to create as many 7 to 8 figure women entrepreneurs as I possibly can before I leave this earth. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right in. I like to start all of my teachings or workshops or whatever I'm doing off with a quote. And today this one is by Jim Rohn, and success is nothing more than a few disciplines practiced every day. And that really speaks to the process or the mindset around evergreen lead generation. And we're going to dive into that. So I'm going to talk about the importance of lead generation in your business. Also going to talk about definition of evergreen in the online space, content and social media and marketing, particularly evergreen content, and then the key components of an evergreen lead generation system. So let's talk about it. You need leads in your business daily in order for your business to survive. Yes, daily. And lead generation or lead acquisition, however you want to talk about it, however you want to call it, is the process of attracting new customers and moving them through your sales process. So if your business doesn't have a process for acquiring new leads consistently, eventually revenue will stop. And we definitely don't want to be in that position. So generating leads for your business, there's a variety of ways you can do that. In the online space, some common methods include content marketing, social media marketing, speaking, events, networking, media, PR. This isn't an exhaustive list, but just some ideas to kind of get your wheels turning. So where do we start when we're trying to get leads? I always tell my clients, we start with our zone of genius, and that is going to be where you're going to be creating those products and services from and creating a solution to solve your target market's problem. You also need a target market, you need a niche, a marketing strategy, and a sales funnel, whether that be you're making online sales or you're making sales in person. This can also be adaptable to folks who have a brick and mortar business as well. But when we think about our zone of genius, it has 4 components, I like to say. And the first is going to be your expertise and your knowledge. So what is something that you are extremely good at, you've had training in, you're certified in, right? Then what are you passionate about? You wake up in the morning, you would do this, you would even do it for free. That's where the passion comes in. And I like to talk about these two components because I truly believe that when you start a business, if you are not knowledgeable about it, and also passionate about it, you will eventually sunset that business. And the reason why I think that is because, and Rochelle even mentioned this, entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. And if you just started that business just to make money, like that was your only goal with it, you're not really passionate about it, it will eventually drain you because that doesn't speak to your heart, if that makes sense. So I do believe that you need those two elements. You can't be missing any of the four for this to work for you and for you to build a profitable and sustainable business. You also need a target market, so the people who you can best help with that knowledge that you have. And then it also has to be a monetizable solution, meaning people are willing to pay for it right now. So those are the four elements or four components of your zone of genius. You also need that target market, a group of customers, clients that you identify to sell your product or your service to. An example of this would be women entrepreneurs in the first 1 to 3 years of business, AKA startup women entrepreneurs, right? That's an example of a target market. Notice how I went a little bit more in depth than just women entrepreneurs, because that's like a broad market. Then you need a niche. A niche is a specialized segment of the market for your product or service. So this is going to be where you're going to really be using your zone of genius. So an example of this, if your industry is health and wellness, then an example of a niche would be nutrition and gut health. Okay, so you get a little bit more specific with the problem that you solve and who it's for and how it helps. Next, you're going to need a marketing strategy. And this is the way you're going to get the word out about your business. And it can include social platforms and non-social platforms. Social platforms being like your Facebook, your Instagram, your LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, right? And then non-social is going to be Google search and billboards and things like that, right? Organic content and social media marketing. The cost associated with organic marketing is your time. Then you also have paid traffic or paid ads, and that's what you do to pay for traffic to go to your site or your content as a method of marketing. You also need that sales funnel. So I talked about that. This is an example of a sales funnel, and it's based after the sales funnel we have in our kitchen, right? So with the sales funnel, you have your traffic coming in to your social media, your blog, your podcast, whatever you have, and then to the content that you have. Then it goes to some kind of an offer, then a website, then hopefully you get that person on your email list, and then you hopefully are able to upsell them. This is an example of a basic and classic sales funnel. With lead generation, we focus on the top of the funnel. So people coming in, that's where leads are coming in, right? Because everybody that comes in, right, which is why it's wide at the top and narrow at the bottom, does not become a customer, right? Especially not right away. So let's talk about social media and content marketing, because that's most of what people do in the online space. Social media marketing is the use of social media apps to connect with your audience, build your brand, drive traffic to your website, and then increase sales. Content marketing, and sometimes you might see social media and content marketing used interchangeably, but they actually represent two different things, or social media is a part of content marketing. So content marketing is a marketing strategy that involves the creation and sharing of online materials. So in addition to social media content, you might have podcasts, newsletters, videos, blogs, white papers, things of that nature. So we've talked about content, we've talked about sales funnels, we've talked about your zone of genius. Let's talk about how producing not only just content, but evergreen content leads to evergreen lead generation. So let's talk about what evergreen actually means. In the digital space, evergreen means sustainable and lasting. Similar to an evergreen tree that retain their leaves all season, evergreen content continues to be relevant long after the date it was published. And that's really the magic behind Evergreen and Evergreen content. Traffic to this type of content increases over time, which then will increase your brand's visibility. So having content that's always relevant to your target audience and niche will help position you as a reputable source, aka build your brand authority. Potential clients search for these types of topics, right? And they will continue to associate your brand with the problem you solve, and then that will thus help generate leads for your business. So examples of evergreen content formats include how-tos, lists, top tips, videos, articles, blogs, and podcasts. However, just because you do this type of content does not automatically make it evergreen. So you have to be very diligent about the topics and what you're doing inside these formats of content. So like an example I like to give is, let's say you're creating content around the election. That's not evergreen content. Why? Because once the election is over, no one is talking about the election. They won't think about that election until the next election, if that makes sense. So you need to be thinking about things that are going to always be relevant for the target audience that you're trying to serve, and what's going to be most helpful and actionable for them in order to go on that journey of doing business with you. So let's talk about some examples of evergreen content by platform. Again, not an exhaustive list, just some things I put together. YouTube is a great example of content that you can have that's evergreen, videos and YouTube shorts. Pinterest is a great platform. The average shelf life of a pen is about 9 months. And Pinterest is actually not a social media platform. It's actually a search engine, right? When you go on Pinterest, you're searching things similar to Google. So a lot of people mistake Pinterest for a social media platform when it's actually a search engine. So knowing that, and if you are on Pinterest and marketing your business on Pinterest, how does that affect how you're going to put out content now, knowing that the average shelf life of the thing you post is about 9 months, right? Then LinkedIn, articles for LinkedIn would be considered evergreen content, which articles can mimic or be the similar or same as blogs on your website. Podcasts, right? As long as that podcast remains published, it's there forever, right? And just thinking about the types of episodes you're putting out. If you're doing episodes, podcasts on current events, just know that that particular episode is not evergreen, right? So just be thinking about that. And then Facebook and Instagram. Now, Facebook and Instagram, because they're algorithm-based platforms, same with TikTok, LinkedIn has an algorithm. All the platforms really do have an algorithm. However, there are certain types of content formats on those platforms that are more suitable for evergreen content. Reels, great type of content that is suitable for evergreen because of the way that it functions, which is why when I work with clients, I always encourage them, whatever platform that you market on, which by the way, should be the platform in which your audience is on in large numbers. You want to understand that platform to the best of your ability, what types of content are going to be the best in order to be able to attract your ideal clients. So Reels are great for that because they're pushed to users days, weeks after posting. And with trends, you can basically pick up some serious traction to your content. Same thing with videos, right? So making sure that we are more diligent about what we're posting and where we're posting it. And then now, how evergreen content can generate leads. So evergreen lead generating content has a few elements. Typically, it solves an immediate problem for your target audience. It's quickly consumable, educational, thought-provoking, will be relevant for the foreseeable future, positions you as an industry authority, and starts a conversation. These are elements I would consider to be very important when it comes to producing evergreen content that will then bring you evergreen leads. So let's look at a couple of examples for a couple of different types of businesses. So the industry is social media marketing. The target market is OSPs or online service providers. The niche is Instagram marketing and growth. So how does it hit these points? Let's say they make content around how to make an Instagram reel. They can do a 60-second video. That's pretty quick. I would probably even shorten that these days with people's attention spans, probably like 15 seconds, 18 seconds, right? It's educational and thought-provoking, teaches clients how to use a feature on IG. It will be relevant for the foreseeable future. So Instagram has highlighted that Reels are one of the great ways to produce content. They have changed the focus a little bit, and they do periodically, but again, still a great way to get in front of new people. It positions you as an industry authority because it's timely, it's valuable. People need to know how to make Reels, right? And then it also starts a conversation because now you can ask your audience, if this is you and your business, if they've made a reel yet and what they're struggling with when it comes to making reels. So hopefully you guys can see how that would work if you are a Instagram marketing and growth strategist. Let's use a coach as an example. Let's say you're a relationship coach and your target market is women in their late 20s to 40s looking to date for marriage. So what is something that you can do that would be evergreen? So maybe it's how to ask the right questions on the first date. And then something, is it quickly consumable? You can just have a list of questions to ask and be accompanied by a video explaining in what context to ask the questions, right? Educational and thought-provoking. You can teach women how to have effective conversations on the first date to know if they want a second, right? And then, is it relevant for the foreseeable future? I think we can all agree that first dates tend to be awkward. At least for me, it's always awkward. And so I would love something like this. And then position you as an industry authority. You've now given your audience who's trying to find their mate something timely, something valuable. And then you can also start a conversation with them, asking them if the questions help, what other topics came up. And now you can start to build that community around women looking to date for marriage. And then finally, let's look at a consultant example. Let's say you're in the IT business, you're IT consultant, and maybe you do tech systems, network security, and help desk. If you're not a techie, it's, don't worry about that. But a lot of times businesses struggle with knowing if their IT systems need to be updated. So this company that does IT consulting could create a quiz that gives a company a score with the recommendation of, yes, I need to update my system, or no, I don't, or, something like that. Tech, like, it basically is teaching companies that are not IT focused why IT infrastructure is important, what to look out for, what they could do to look out for a data breach, a hack, or a system failure, right? And then if it's relevant for the foreseeable future, so for companies that support employees with technology, obviously yes, or they have personal identifiable information, also known as PII or other sensitive data, they need to keep their systems up to date. They have to by law, right? And then this positions that company as an industry authority because now you've given companies a way to evaluate how they're doing, right? And then you can have a conversation with potential clients about this because you can recommend what services they need that be the most helpful for their business. So again, this is how you would go about putting together evergreen content that would drive evergreen leads to the top of your funnel, right? The traffic source, that platform you're using to your content. So hopefully this has sparked some ideas for you all. Are you producing evergreen content in your business right now? How can you implement this type of content strategy in your current marketing strategy? And do you have any evergreen content right now that's actually leading to evergreen lead generation, meaning leads on autopilot, meaning it's constantly bringing you leads, even in your sleep, which is the point that we want to get to. So if you're wondering how you can do that, generate more leads in your business, definitely guys feel free to connect with me. I'm on social media, isimplyShe.com. My Instagram is there, my Facebook, Instagram I'm at I_simply_she, Facebook isimplyShe, LinkedIn and Twitter at Krystal Vernee. So thank you guys so much. I'm going to stop share, and if you guys have questions, please let me know. I'm definitely want to make sure that everybody understands everything. And if you've been kind of struggling with what to post on social media or how to get this going in your business, that's why I'm here.
Thank you, Krystal. That was amazing and a very informative presentation filled with lots of nuggets of gold. And so I'm going to open it up to our breakout room and let's discuss a little bit about what Krystal shared with us. Anyone want to come off mute, please feel free to do that. And let me ask you the question that I think is most pressing with regards to what Krystal shared with us. Krystal, the whole evergreen marketing stuff is a doozy. And, it's made to look like it's so easy and it's so flawless and it's streamless. And I know it can be, but for the most part, you got to have some expertise and you got to have an expert that can assist you with that, particularly if you want to expand your business. Can you share with us that are looking and watching us, what is one of the first things we should look at implementing when it comes to streamlessly making our evergreen content on social media a viable option?
Yes, I think one of the first things you got to look at is going to be your messaging. Messaging and your offer suite. A lot of times what I see is that people start to just get in creative mode because we technically, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you are creative. Even if you don't call yourself one, you can kind of get into creative mode. We're just creating all these things because no one's buying. And it's like, well, they're going to buy something. So let me just keep creating things when really keeping it simple is going to be your best friend. And a lot of times it's not the product, it's the message, it's the way that you're saying it. And if people are confused about what you have to offer and what you do, confused buyers don't buy. So I would say definitely get really, really good at saying what you do and how you can help people. Because people want to know what's in it for me. That's what they're trying to figure out. And you have to be able to communicate that in as few as words as possible, especially on the internet when we only have a few seconds to get people to stop the scroll. Like having long dissertations, that's not the place to do that. We have to have something that's short, quick, attention grabbing that speaks directly to our ideal client. And I think starting there is going to be your best friend because once you have them, they are going to actually be the ones to help you narrow down like really what's going to be the best product, if that makes sense. So
yes, thank you for sharing. You mentioned something else that I thought was really important. And I know so many people do it because I did it when I had to start my second business. And I'm traditional old school corporate thinking 80s. Okay, no internet, girl, no cell phone. If you had a pager in the late 80s, then it was one of two reasons. One was you were a CEO and the other one wasn't a good reason. You know what I mean? But keeping it real. But when I started the business in 2008 and took it online, we've had the internet around and, for a few years now and stuff. And business was done differently, especially with the outreach. In the beginning, I was thinking I was creating all this content and I put it out there. And when I didn't get a bite, it was like, okay, let me do something else. And I know I don't do that any longer because I have an expert handling that for me. But I know so many women, entrepreneurs and men too, when you're building that business, you want to try to get that quick cash for an influx of cash flow to keep the business running. I understand that. What can you specifically share with those that have that? Let me try to put everything in the pound cake recipe and see which one tastes what comes out tastes the best. And I'm just going to keep doing stuff until the pound cake is so full of stuff that nothing tastes good. What would you say would be a first step for people that are struggling with that, the continued content creation syndrome?
Yes, I think a lot of times we do that because we are looking at other people on social media. So we're comparing. And so we're trying to incorporate what seems to be working in our business. And let me tell you something. You don't know what's working and what's not working in somebody else's business. Like, let's just be 100. All you see is people's best highlights on social media, right? A lot of people are not showing you what's really going on or what if it's really working or not. So the one thing that I would say, especially when you're first starting, is be honest with yourself. What do I know how to do really well? What, like, literally, what do it, like, that's why I said zone of genius is really important, because what I find most often with my clients is that when they come to me and we're working together, all these products they have, it's really not their zone of genius. They just saw someone else do it and they just stuck it onto their business. So it's like you're carrying all the balls. It's like I'm gonna tell a quick story. You guys remember like Spirit Week in high school or college or whatever?
I was a
So
cheerleader, of course, yeah.
so like we had a crazy day, right? Crazy day. And so my school was we're all nerds, bunch of nerds. And so instead of like, putting a ponytail right here and like t-shirts right here, literally two of my friends, well, actually, no, I'm sorry. They did this for match day or something. Not mismatch day, whatever the days you got to match somebody. Twin day, yes, they did that. So they literally had a whole bunch of bears. Like they got a whole bunch of teddy bears and they wrapped them to their body. Like, I just think about all the bears, and like that's literally what it's like having just bears, teddy bears of different sizes from head to toe in class. They're sitting like this. It's the whole school day. And it's literally someone else that looks just like them, like literally in another class. Like, and you're like, it was like, oh, it's twin day. I'm like, what? But doing that and I just think about all the bears. So now you're just accumulating all these bears that don't really make sense. And someone's like, find the bear that represents you. And it's one bear out of like the thousands of bears you covered with your body. So if you focus on what you really know how to do well and really be honest with yourself, and it's okay to say, I have no idea how to do that, but this is what I'm really good at. And this is what I know that if someone came to me, I can get them a transformation like that. And I know this backwards, forwards, upwards, downwards, sideways. Start with that. And I think once we're really honest with ourselves about that, I think that's when you're going to really have a product or a service that's going to sell well versus just trying to do what you see everybody else doing.
I love it. Another question that came up for me is with regards to the whole social media. And I see you, Libby, I'm gonna get to you. But we got time, y'all. But with regards to the whole social media, oh dang, what was I gonna say? Another thing that comes up with the whole social media aspect of trying to find that right message is putting things that talk about the delivery of whatever it is you do versus the actual transformation. Can you enlighten us why that's not advantageous and what we should be doing when we're looking at focusing that aspect that we're on our dime, that we want to make sure that that message is conduit to those that are our clients or should be.
That's a great point. And the one question you got to answer, how does it help me? Or how does it help my ideal client? You must answer that question. You telling me that you're going to have 10 funnels and we're going to do all the colors and we're going to go for 20, or we're going to go for 20 walks, do 100 burpees. First of all, I'm like, what? Right? I'm like, do I want to do this? Now, I'm not saying that sometimes you shouldn't share like the method, like just the top line method, So another example of that might be, I think Dr. Deborah was talking about, that's like EFT and tapping and neurolinguistics programming. You may say that's the method we're going to use, but you're not explaining the nitty gritty, but you want to say, how does it help me? So when thinking about that, I'll just use the NLP example because I just said it. If someone's going to do a session with a coach who uses NLP techniques, I can help you release trauma from your childhood. That's how it helps me. The fact that we're going to use NLP as the vehicle, we could use something else. You could do, you could be like an energy healer, and that's how we're going to release the trauma. Does that make sense? So, always answering the question, how does it help me, is going to help your clients understand like the benefits and how their problem is going to be solved and how quickly it's going to be solved versus listing all the things in your offer. Honestly, that's really what your sales page is for. That's where that information is. But as far as content you're putting out, you have to be able to demonstrate how it's going to help folks. Demonstrate before articulate, actually, on social media, right? Because you're trying to stop the scroll, if that makes sense.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Libby, can you unmute yourself?
Oh, yeah, I think I did.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. Hey, thank you, Krystal. And I really appreciate what you were saying. And it's true. I mean, everything is like benefit driven, because what the process is, I'm like, I don't care. I just want my problem gone, you know? But one of the things that you were talking about when you're doing the lead generation, just kind of step back a little bit, was sometimes it just takes time. I mean, sometimes you're not going to post one or two things and people go, oh, hallelujah, I am going to do this. I mean, you don't, sometimes it takes a while. And from my experience, we never know who's really following along, who's really watching, and they need that time to kind of, okay, I liked that, and this sounds interesting, and I think that's and they're getting to know you that way. I personally have a love-hate relationship with social media. I'd love to have like a 20-year-old here in my house, not to live, but I would like them here to, please no, to do a lot of the social media stuff. It's like, how do you do some of this stuff? It's like do you spend like a lot of time creating these little things? I guess so, but it's kind of something that I had a personal tragedy about 2 weeks ago. And so I posted something on Facebook that was a nice remembrance that I put on there. The people that came out of the woodwork and who had seen that, they had been following different things I'm doing the whole time, but I had no idea because they didn't
not saying anything
or anything. But that one thing, I think I don't know, like 300 people all messaged me, people I hadn't heard from in forever. So I say that because sometimes when we do some type of lead generation, well, gosh, I've been doing this for 2 weeks now and nothing's happening. Well, you know, give it time. And sometimes that is an investment, not only in time or finances or skills or whatever. It may take a while before people go, okay, you know what, I think I like her. I think I want to know more. So that it just takes a while. We just have to be patient and keep going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Ladies, any other questions for Krystal? Well, I have a bunch, so.
I have one. It's not because I'm older that I don't do social media that much, because I had the first IBM computer and DOS in my house. So, but I have trouble. It's like it's constantly changing, like Instagram. It's like, first I know how to post something and then it disappears, and then there's this other way to post it, and I get very frustrated and I want to back away from it. But I know if I'm starting this new business with the speaking and the books and authoring, I've got to do that. I don't know what I'm asking particularly, but is there like a way to figure out how to do this without getting so frustrated you want to throw the computer?
Yeah, so I have a couple of things. So if you have the resources and it's not your expertise, then it's time to outsource. That I think if you have the resources and it's not your expertise, then it's time to outsource. Now I get it, new businesses, sometimes we don't have that resource. So my recommendation there is, because as entrepreneurs, we know building, we have to wear multiple hats until we don't have to wear them. And I'm a millennial, but I think I'm very much, I have Gen X's work ethic. And so I always say that I'm an elder millennial. So with that being said, typically I tell my clients is you need to pick 1 to 2 platforms, 1 to 2. Whatever, if one is not if 2 is overwhelming, start with 1. and get to know that platform inside and out and stay committed to learning about it and staying up to date, just like you would on things in your industry. Like you join listservs and you go to conferences to stay up to date with that particular practice, whatever you're an expert is in. You got to dedicate that to social media until you don't. And the reason why I say 1 to 2 platforms is because typically you don't need to be everywhere to scale your business. Because in truth, your ideal customer is not going to be on all those platforms either. Mm-hmm. So what you need to figure out is where they are in mass and learn those. Like where they are in mass, they show up in large numbers, right? That's where you need to really show up. You don't have to be on like 20 social media platforms. There's a new one that comes out every single day to grow your business. So figure out figure out your main 1 to 2 that are going to produce the best results, and just stay dedicated to staying up to date with that until you have the resources to outsource. Because let me tell you, I've outsourced in 3 out of my 4 businesses. I don't do the social media. Not that I don't know how, but it's not the best use of my time. So as you scale your business,
it really isn't.
Yeah, right? As you scale your business, you'll be able to do that. But in the beginning, sometimes it's necessary. So I like to be very realistic with people. And that's how you kind of get around that, or help to get yourself to the level where you don't have to do that anymore.
Do you have any recommendations on what would be the best ones to start with? I mean, I did develop a Facebook page because I had to have all the stuff that I'm doing with them put somewhere, and it's starting to grow and people are starting to, so I started there. That was pretty simple, but do you have any other suggestions where the best markets out there are?
So wherever you are right now, I would start to kind of put feelers out or do what's called market research and ask the people, like, where do you normally watch my stuff at? Where do you normally follow me at? And that can kind of at least give you an idea. Because like if you think people are watching you on Facebook and no, I'm actually watching you on Instagram, or vice versa, that'll at least give you a clue. Because these are and they should be ideal clients, not friends and family.
Yeah.
Not friends and family. Okay. Stop adding your friends, families, cousins.
Say that one more again.
Not friends and family. Stop adding your whole family member to your groups and to your pages. I get it. They can follow you personally, but for your business, you really want to cultivate a social community of ideal clients. That's what you want, because that is going to help the algorithm work in your favor. So not like Rochelle and I have the engineering connection, right? I used to program things. The algorithm is not trying to kill you. It's not out to get you. It's a computer, and it has a functionality. And so we want to optimize the way in which, or optimize our results by using the algorithm or using social media. Social media is a tool. It's not your business, okay? And it is not the end all be all. It's not the only way to get business, but it's a tool. So understanding how the tool works, you can better utilize the tool. The algorithm, if you're by accepting all these people, you're telling the algorithm, these are the people that are going to buy from me because I have a business page, and they're the best people. So bring me more people like these people. Listen, if your cousin is at home watching TV 24/7, and they're going to bring you more people who are at home watching TV 24/7, and not the people that you need to be serving. So just keep that in mind when it comes to social media. And I know it's like, oh my God, but most of us are not on social media to like just make things look pretty and take pictures of our food. We want to get customers. So do operate and be on there with that intention, and it'll change the way that you use the tool to help grow your business.
Oh man, I love it. This is some good
That's
stuff.
good.
Natalie or Nicolette, do you have any questions? You are a VIP guest, and so if you have any direct questions for Krystal, this is your time to get a drop on the dime, so to speak.
The comment that you just made, Krystal, about the social media as a tool and not your business. And I think it speaks to those of us that are creatives. have a multi tier type of business. And one part is decor and mindful events and creating sacred spaces for women in wellness. And but during the day, I'm an analyst in public health. So I've been able to merge those passions, if you will. But as a creative, I like to draw, I create and stuff. And sometimes realizing making things look pretty is great, but that's not your business. It's a tool for you to bring individuals into your business so that they can enjoy what it is that you are trying to enhance for them as part of your creative niche, if you will. So that term right there really kind of helped me, because I will sit and like create a website and make it look pretty. And I love doing, weddings and event decor, and we'll sit there and I'm sure my spouse is like, if you bring home one more canopy or one more piece of decor, shelves or sequin, something, I would need you to figure out what else you're going to do with it. And trying to make sure, it really kind of made me pause to think, okay, how do I make sure I'm lining up while I'm still trying to advertise and bring in clients for the decor part? Then that's one aspect. And I also have a consulting part of my company, and trying to make sure that I don't combine the two, because I'm trying to make everything look pretty. But there's content behind it, and bringing folks in is one thing, but making sure that you have the wherewithal to sustain that. And I think with the content manager and social media component, I'm on social media, but I'm not on social media like that. Like, Rochelle will know that I post a lot of positive stuff. That's pretty much what I'm always putting out positive affirmations and things like that. Anything else that's trendy, I do all that. I work for the federal government. I have to be mindful of what I post. So I have, it has to be intentional, and trying to make sure that I figure out how to use the tool to capture individuals' attention, but not get caught up in trying to make it, granted, attention spans are like 2 seconds. So you also have to be mindful. How do you do that still by remaining authentic and not flashy? Because I just don't want every and anybody as a client. How they interview me, I'm interviewing them to be my client. Because I just don't want to take somebody. Not all money is good money, as far as I'm concerned. So, and making sure to take those things into consideration, and how to best leverage your creativeness with the tool to bring in the clients that you want to work with, and to sustain that algorithm, if you will. So that kind of just made my brain kind of start thinking on some things. So thanks for that, especially with the social media and content. Sometimes I'm like, I don't really feel like doing all of that and posting every 5 seconds. And I don't have time. I really don't. But, other stuff I do have time for that, but that outsourcing definitely comes into play.
Yeah. And batch creation is going to be key, I think. What you just said, every time when you were talking, I was like, left brain, right brain, left brain, right brain. Are like, you're trying to merge those two things together. That's how I am too. I'm very analytical, but I also have a creative side, and so I have to, bringing those things together. And decor is definitely a creative. You're going to use your right brain more. But at work, you're thinking analytically. So, it's for you, it's going to be all about merging the two. I would even play on that if I were you, how you analyze a space, because that's part of your expertise. Remember, I talked about having your passion and your expertise have to be existing in your business in order for it really to have that longevity. And I can see that. So for me, you said a consultant, I'm like, oh yeah, you analyze a space and it has a transformation just like that. And that's what you need to showcase on social media. So when you're taking pictures, take before and after pictures and like zhuzhing it up, well, I like to say, with like a quick transformation, easy content to create. Easy content for that. And if you don't know how to do that, that's where that gets outsourced to show you. Sometimes it's not necessarily about people. If you're not at that point, maybe it's about taking a class or a course so you can get the latest and greatest on, and I do this for myself also to make sure I'm up to date for my clients. It's like, okay, they've released like 20 new features. Okay, so what, do we need these things? Do we not? And I just like to stay aware. My number one platform right now is Instagram. So I like to stay aware of what's happening. That way I can let my clients know and we making the decision to, yes, this is going to be beneficial for our business, or no, it's not, because everything that's released, you don't have to use everything because sometimes it's not applicable. So being able to have that discernment, if you can't have someone help you so that you're not trying to do all the things that don't make sense and everything looks crazy now because you've just tried to like just jump on anything and everything. So I like that you don't necessarily hop on trends. I'm not really I'll be the last person to hop on a trend, but I'll still capitalize on it. But I don't necessarily the first. I'm like, how long is it going to last? I'm analytical. I like to step back and think, okay, what are the pros and cons of me doing this trend or not doing this trend? Do I foresee it having longevity in the future? When I used to work in corporate, one of my things was forecasting. So that's where that comes from.
Exactly. Thank you. Makes sense.
We have several engineering minds in the house today, and that makes a lot of sense. You said a lot, shared a lot of words of wisdom. And I want to ask you this. Have you, with regards to testing your messages in the marketplace, have you heard of something called sprint testing?
Oh, yeah, I do that.
Can you share the importance of why, we should invest in sprint testing?
Absolutely. So, and I think Libby brought this up about, not like it didn't work. So now you're on something else, which is really key. You just stick with things to give yourself enough time to collect data. But I'll come back to that in just a second. So sprint testing is where you put something out in the marketplace and see what feedback that you get from it. A lot of online business owners will do this using ads. You can also do it organically if you don't have the money to put behind it, but I would actually suggest you do, because you can do it for like really cheap, just to see if someone clicks on it, what kind of comments you get. That way you know if the message is resonating, and it just can be a couple of words or a phrase or something that you're trying like, does my audience understand what this even means, right? Like that's how you can tell. And you just kind of do that with short phrases, short messaging. You don't want to test a long thing. That's too much to consume. People are going to be like, well, what is this? That swipe, right? So sprint testing is important because that helps you nail down the messaging for the thing you're trying to sell. So I do that with my clients because you want to have a winner. Like what better way than to include the messaging and the wording that people are actually responding to. So I want to go back to the point about not moving on too quickly. So, and you have to consider your audience size too for testing things, organically, especially like when you're putting something out and just posting and you get no results. Consider your audience size and how many eyes are on that, right? So like whatever your following is, you typically about 10 to 20% of people are seeing your content because of the algorithm, right? That's just it. And people aren't interacting with you. They're not going to see your content on a regular basis, which is why you're supposed to be engaging with other people, like talking to them, like liking their content, all that stuff, right? Whole strategy behind it, not fake, right? Actually engaging with people that you want to do business with or that you genuinely enjoy what they put out, right? So if only 10 to 20% of people are seeing your content, right? Which 10 to 20% are seeing your content? That's like, right. And it's going to be the people who are interacting and engaging with you the most. And if those people aren't your ideal clients, guess who you're missing in that if they're following you? Your ideal clients. So you have to be very intentional, once again, about how you use the tool, social media. And the more content you put out that speaks to your ideal clients, the more they're going to interact with you, whether they like actually say something or not. They're watching it. That's what needs to happen. They might tap on it, save it, share it, right? You don't get that information unless they comment or DM you, right? But like you need that to happen regardless of if you get the validation or not. Sometimes we're going for this validation that we don't even need. We just need them to go to the next step. That's what you want. right? So giving yourself enough time to test those things, but also realizing how the platform works so that you can utilize it to your advantage. I mean, in a scientific experiment, a statistical environment, usually they say 90 days. And I can actually validate this in that if you're doing what you're supposed to do in terms of like marketing and you're seeing traction, you will see level ups in your business about every 90 days. That's about how, how long it takes, just on a basic curve trajectory, like someone growing, but growing at an average rate. About every 90 days, you can see changes in your business. So for those of us thinking that's going to happen tomorrow because we posted one thing, or we posted it twice for that month, and oh my gosh, nobody bought, again, 10 to 20%, they probably never even saw the post. And then you don't even talk to them. So like, you're not even engaging with them. They might have engaged with you or they followed you. That's why, like, again, look, see who's following you. Like, you might be surprised, right? You'll be surprised. And if it's looking like your ideal clients are following you, you're doing something right. Right?
Thank you. I love that. I want to share a story about what you just shared about sprint testing. So I'm having a book come out, 2 books come out, and I wanted to test the book cover of the books. Okay. And then the name of the title of the book. So the first one I tested, and what we thought was just going to be like popping with it was like atrocious, right? It was, those were atrocious, but it gave us information on what not to do with that particular book. Tested it again. And as we begin testing it and like you said, you don't have to spend a lot of money to do these ads. You don't have to spend a lot of money, but the information you get is unsurmountable, valuable, because now you know not to spend all your time developing something that you thought was really good and thought the message was popping, and it was only popping with you. Okay. Now you know that, okay, as you gauge and what's the responses are getting, now you know how to direct your messages to work with your ideal clients. So we did the book. Okay. And I mean, we did it and came out, we got the results perfect. It's in production. Now, the second book that's coming out is, we thought, again, the cover was popping, it's representing a queen and, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh my gosh, all of these are amazing. But I knew from my previous experience that what I thought was amazing, I'm not my client, I'm not going to be of course I'm gonna have my own book, but you know what I'm saying? What I thought was amazing wasn't amazing to my ideal client. As we began testing the book cover and the title and the subtitles, what popped for the clients was something totally like we didn't even see it coming. But now we have the information. So when the book continues and is ready to be distributed, it should really be popping with the ideal client, because that's who gave me the message of what they are seeing and what they would like to see and know about the book. So it really works. It's not expensive. It will save you tremendous amount of time and money. Yes. And also when you get to a point as you're building your business, you have to think about how much is it for you to work per hour trying to figure out social media, or is it better to hire somebody for 10, 15, 20, whatever, $30 an hour, where that's all they do? It's like, the electrical engineer and the landscape girl, I can do electrical engineer. Well, that's not a good example, but either way, it's like you need to be working on the aspects of your business that give you the biggest bang for your buck. And if you are a $500 per hour person and you spending time on social media, well, now you're paying $500 an hour on social media that you're creating that's not working for you.
That's right.
And that's costing you a lot of money. When you can hire somebody for $15, one of these kids for $15 that will whip it in and create and do it, and it'll be working for you. And you can make not only $500, but double and triple that as your message gets out to your ideal clients. So this has been an amazing session. Thank you, Krystal. I appreciate it. Any other ladies? We have a little bit of time. Any more questions for Krystal? All righty. Well, thank you, Krystal. Again, that was amazing, and lots of nuggets of gold and words of wisdom, not only from just Krystal, but the questions that were asked by all of you as well. So thank you. So now we have our next speaker in the house, and she's sitting there with a little pretty smile on her face. But Miss Suzanne, is it Nadell? Did I say it right?
It depends which relative you ask. Nadell, yeah, Nadell.
Okay, Nadell, I like it. Suzanne Nadell. And Suzanne is here to share words of wisdom with us that is going to, again, help us to step in and really think of yourself in them 5-inch heels with your crown on, stand on top of the pyramid of your business, and you're looking out at your empire and you're like, yeah, I'm getting what I need today to take my business, my empire to the next level. I'm getting what I need today to help me circumvent spending a whole bunch of money over here and wasting it versus spending money and being pinpoint and direct with what's going to help up level my business. I'm getting insights within myself that I didn't even know that I'm circumventing my own journey because I can't get over my past traumas or things that have held me back. And now it's time for me to raise my awareness and keep moving forward. So Suzanne, you got the house, girl.
Hello, I am going to share the screen here. Oops, see if it'll let me do that. I think this will work. Just a moment. Allow Zoom to share my screen. Turn it on. I just recently went into the Mac world. I don't know, for those who had avoided the Mac world.
Okay.
So this is a journey with me on getting into the Mac world here. So let me see if it shares here with us. Here we go. I see it.
You'll never go back.
I know. That's what. So it's so funny as we're talking, my husband is a graphics designer and you would think he loves Macs, but he is not a huge Mac person. Okay. Are you seeing the pretty screen that says Finding Rest?
Not yet, but we're hopeful.
You're okay. Hold on. Let me see if you're seeing. Are you seeing pretty screen that says Finding Rest? Figured out my Mac. So I wanted my phone and everything just to start talking to each other. So here's the deal. This is why I brought this one out. And you know what? There's nothing that's in here that's going to be life-changing to any of y'all. Like, well, hopefully life-changing, but anything that you probably haven't heard to some degree before. But I think especially when we attend to things like this, we need to be reminded of this. Because the fact that you're even on this call tells me that you are a go-getter and you've got dreams and you are juggling a lot. And there may be times when you've had to stop because you were forced to stop because you were missing the rest part. And I think when we're getting all this information about things to empower us, we've got to remember what is it that we're doing to make sure that we are taking care of our heart and our mind and our body and our soul, and the rest being such a key part of that. So we're going to go through some reminders and I think some things that we don't think about when we're building our businesses and we're juggling our career and our family and our business that we may forget about sometimes. So we are talking about, okay, now, there we go. We are talking about being brave, bold, and unstoppable while we build our dreams and businesses. And what I want to talk to you about in that is something that only you can do. You can only do this to make sure that you succeed. And what is that? That is the rest. And some of you, again, you rolled your eyes. You're thinking, is this another self-care talk? I don't need another self-care talk. I've figured this out already. Or you're thinking, that when am I supposed to rest? Like I'm building a business and I have a full-time job and I've got kids and everything. When am I supposed to rest? And I want you to know I get it. So a little bit about me. On social, I always talk about myself as being a wife, mom, and TV news boss. I am actually hiding in a corner office at WSB TV in Atlanta, Georgia right now, hiding away from the newsroom. The 4 o'clock news is going to start at any point. My boss did say I could do it. I am the news director of the #1 local TV station in the country, WSB in Atlanta. It stands for Welcome South Brother. So I am in charge of the entire news department. And we've got a lot of news in Georgia, and it's about to get a lot more news in Georgia. So I stay very busy with that. I am also a two-time cancer survivor. I have a 13-year-old boy. My husband also works in news. You know what? We all have our stuff. We're all busy and we all have our stuff. But there's one thing that I think most women have in common. And that's no matter what we put on our plate, we tend to put ourselves last. And what I'm going to do is just talk about some life lessons I've learned in hopes to give you ideas on how you can get the rest that you need so you can be unstoppable. You're not going to be able to be unstoppable if you don't rest, because at some point, if you don't rest, you'll stop. You won't have a choice in the matter, as your body will stop even when you don't want it to. So in my office in the newsroom, if I were in there, the thing is about my office, it's like got these windows and the whole newsroom could see in, and they would all be like, what's Suzanne doing? Like looking in, and you would be like, what are those faces behind her in the windows? They're all journalists are nosy. But there are 2 Energizer bunnies, and the bunnies like you see right there on the picture. And my boss gave me that nickname when I was the morning executive producer about 15 years ago, and about how Suzanne goes. She just never stops until I stopped. So what a lot of people thought of, past that time, because they think of when I was younger, is that now I still don't stop. But I can tell you all those things I talked about juggling today, and now building a business and being on social media, and I wrote a book and all of those things that going on to that, I had to learn how to figure out the rest part to be able to keep going. And ladies, as you're talking about being bold and brave and unstoppable, a key part of that is figuring out early on how you're going to navigate the taking care of yourself and the getting the rest part. And figuring that, whenever I first launched or first started launching things, I wanted to quit my job and just go full in. And I had some very wise people speak into me, and they were just like, you know what, you need to figure out how to balance both while you can get some help. And you need to make sure you're taking that help so you can have the rest. Because if you're like abandoning and full in, you're not going to be able to have that help that you need to do it. So we're going to talk about some of those things that I learned, those life lessons. I like to share life lessons I've learned. So you'll see lessons I've learned throughout the slide. So here's the story of when I crashed, March 2020. Did any of the rest of you crash after March 20 at some point? So March 2020 was, in a matter of days, our lives changed. In the newsroom, we were one of the largest newsrooms in the country, and we moved 90% of the staff to remote style. Some of you are like, well, my company did that too. I will say news, it was kind of probably a bigger thing because we had no systems in place to get people on TV, to be able to edit from home, to be able to do all of those things. If you think back, you saw many of your news anchors anchoring from their bedrooms, weird things. Not my station, by the way. I would not allow bedroom anchoring. They had to like pass a test. Like we needed to keep some professionalism to it. But you saw like we had to figure all of those things out, and we did. People were editing from home. We were having our meetings remotely, things that actually got us to a place that we should have been tons of time before. Work-life balance, things that we said you couldn't do in news. Like if you were going to be in news, you couldn't have that work-life balance. We finally figured those things out when we had to, because of March 2020. That is for most people. Not everyone got better work-life balance. For some people, it got better. Others, it got worse. Many of our workers, including me, ended up working more. My commute time ended up being work time. It was impossible to turn things off, and work followed me everywhere I went. So the only way to keep those team members, including myself, from completely melting down is we did some mandated unplug days. So with the support of my boss, we made every manager take an unplug day every 2 weeks. And yes, my boss made me. We'll get to that part in a second. I'm the leader of the newsroom. I even had to take the unplug day. Other staff members, we made 4 days a week to help them cope. But here's where the crash happened. I wasn't following my own advice. And even though my boss said, you're taking your unplugged day, I was sneaking in, email, and I was, coming to the rescue for everything. And as the news events continue to unfold throughout the year with racial injustice and protests and riots and tornadoes and election controversy, I rested less. And I knew what I had to do. I had the habit that I put in place after my second cancer fight, which is taking 24 hours, a 24-hour period every week. I usually either Friday night to Saturday night or Saturday night to Sunday night, and unplug. But I had stopped, and I felt like I had every reason in the world to stop, because we come up with all those reasons, right? Work needs us. I need to set an example. My kids needs us. All of those things that we say, I was justifying. This is time for me to keep going, and going. I wasn't taking care of myself, and that was on me. So when I stopped to think about why I stopped resting, I found one simple thing. What is the one simple thing? And it was that I had to disconnect. Let's be real. Getting real rest is harder than ever to do. Like I say, miss the glory days. Like when people were off, like the pagers, like, were just like for doctors, you know what I mean? Like when you were off, people had to like hunt you down. Like, people couldn't find you. And what I'm not going to do is spend an entire section telling you about the dangers of social media and all the stuff about social media. That ship has sailed. I will say, as a woman building a business, I've had to navigate this one again, because I get sucked into the social media thing while I'm doing the social media part for my business and figuring out those boundaries and how to keep those separate. That's something I've had to navigate and figure out systems and help. And we could talk about, whenever we're talking at the end, some of the systems I figured to do that. But we do have to set an example and figure out how to turn it off. And one of the best examples is, I will say, as women, we've got to set examples for other women. I think we feel like, we're competitive and we've got to do it. And one of the best examples I ever had was a CEO of my company. And I don't know if she did it intentionally, but she set an example through what she posted. And what it showed on her weekends was, you would see her doing work stuff during the week, but on her weekends, she was all in with her family. And it was great to see her all in with her family on the weekends. And that she was taking all in vacation time to go visit her family in Wisconsin and all of those kinds of things. And she lived by example. And people will tell you to this day about this former CEO. She's no longer in that. They're like, yeah, when she's off, she's off. She does that because when she is on, she is on. And to be on when you need to be on, you've got to be off when you need to be off. So here are a few ideas. Just because I don't think rest looks the same for everyone. So just a few ideas for you as you're figuring out how to build your business and be unstoppable, things to not forget to do to take care of yourself. Plan it. What is it they say? If it's important, it gets scheduled. And if it gets scheduled, it gets done. Put it on your calendar. Plan it. Verbalize it. So trusted leaders who you work with, your partner, your children, your boss, tell them you are taking that time away so they know not to bother. You need to explain also so they think that maybe you're not checking out or disengaged or you're ignoring them or mad at them. Tell them what you're doing so they know what you're doing. Put the devices away. So I will say that, on vacations, I've done this a few times and I've said, you know what, you're not going to be able to reach me. If you need to get to me, contact my husband. There's not a single vacation that my boss has ever called my husband. That sent the message that I was totally going to disconnect and not to bother me. Never once have they had to do that over the past 10 years on those vacations. As the leader, set the tone. Set the tone. You know what? Make it available for the people who work for you or the folks that you're doing, but set the tone for your organization, your business. You're the one that sets the tone. And then trust. Okay, ladies, we're going to talk about this trust thing because that is at the core of not resting. Let's be real. For many of us, it's all about trust and trusting others and trusting the process and trusting what's supposed to happen for you. At the end of the day, we've got to give up control and trust so we can rest. So it's easier said than done, right? So for years, I was the talker of trust and empowerment. And then in a side conversation, a manager who reports to me was very brave. And he said some words to his boss that his boss needed to hear that day. And he said, Suzanne, it's one thing to say you trust, it's another thing to show it. And I wanted to say, you do realize that you were talking to the woman who hired you, right? Like you just said that to me. But then I remembered that's why I hired this guy, is because I needed somebody who was smart and honest and all of those things. And I needed someone to remind me that trust is an action verb. We've got to put it into action. And whenever you are building your people, it requires to let them grow. And trusting lets other people grow, and it lets you grow as well, especially when it comes to being able to rest. It comes down to trust. So another person who I report to said, I was talking about that exhaustion that I had at the end of 2020. And he said, there are 3 words that are very powerful. And you need to say this to your team, but you need to make sure that you mean it when you say it, because you need to live it. And it's, I trust you. I trust you. I've let you grow. I've let you make mistakes. It's time for you to be able to thrive. It's time for me to be able to thrive. I trust you. When you trust them, show them that you do by trusting them. I will say this, I've had to work on this. This is a huge thing for me. The fact that I am hiding in a spare office in the newsroom away from the newscast right now, this has been a process for me. But it's still something, because I think sometimes we think that we've got that imposter syndrome. So we think we have to constantly prove ourselves, and we forget to trust others and trust the process and trust all of those things. So let's talk about the other thing that gets to us, that burnout that I was talking about, that thing that happens when we don't trust and we don't take that rest. So I can't move on without touching on the signs of burnout and the signs that you need to spot. And I went through a whole life coaching 2 days on this, and I realized this was a step in the process that I had missed for decades. And if you haven't gone through this with anyone, whether it be, a coach or yourself or something, but learning to spot your signs of burnout. So I'm gonna be vulnerable and share with you my signs of burnout, because some of them I didn't learn until I was 47 years old, already leading newsrooms for 20 plus years. And I've made some missteps because I didn't spot the signs. And it has been huge in being able to get rest without breaking down now that I've spotted them. So here are my signs of burnout. Maybe it could help you spot some signs of burnout. So I'm beyond tired, just beyond tired. Can't get enough rest, beyond tired. I procrastinate. And I will say I'm not procrastinating. I will say I'm a news person and I'm better under deadline, but I'm really procrastinating because I just don't want to do it and I'm just easily distracted. This was a huge thing that my coach called me out on, and that I was like, oh my gosh, this is me. And this one coming up. I have actually made huge corrections in my life. I now go to my boss like twice in the past 6 months. I caught myself doing this on my way to work, and I said, I've got to take a day off. I start playing the victim. Now, I'm not saying that sometimes we don't need to advocate ourselves, but I say for me, when I start being like, I'm the only one doing anything and nobody's doing, and nothing's worked out for me, and I start going down this spiral that is not a healthy spiral, it's like, I need to take a break. I need to take a break. I need to realize that sometimes if the problem is everyone else around me, the common denominator is me. And what is it that I need to do to address it? Because I may be the one with a problem that day, not every single person I encounter that day. I'm extreme with my emotions. As you could tell when I'm talking, I'm naturally an emotive person. If I'm crying and then laughing in the next 30 seconds and being extreme, I'm probably tired. My health suffers. I mentioned the 2 cancers I've had, both Hodgkin's lymphoma and breast cancer. I'm a BRCA2 gene carrier. I've had chemo, radiation, so many surgeries. And with that, I have the things that linger after all of those. My body reacts like, I know my neuropathy from all the chemo that I've had, it goes crazy. All of those things. So when my health is suffering, I know that I'm really tired. I overwork because I feel like I have to prove myself more. Isn't that weird that like when we're tired and exhausted, then we find ourselves like doing more because we get all wonky in the head. And it's like we got to keep going, when really we just need to take a break and then we'll be more productive. So I would just ask you to think about, what are your signs? What are the signs that you may be missing that you need to write down and be like, okay, that's when I need to take a day off. And that day off is going to be more productive than any day I worked through. And that day off, that time off, is going to get me to the next step. So let's talk about how you rest. And I think it's important to remember what works for you doesn't work for everyone. So one thing that I think with all the self-care talk, I think there's a lot of judginess in the self-care talk, that like folks think that like self-care looks this one way and it doesn't look this one way. There are different ways of self-care for every person. My example is, and we're all ladies here, I'm going to tell my mom's story of her self-care revolt. Picture it, 1982-ish, Central Illinois, old school Weight Watchers meeting. I don't know if y'all know the Weight Watchers meeting when everybody used to have to like go in and check in and you had the books or that. And we would all go, the 3 of us would go with my mom to this Weight Watchers meeting. And the lady, the Weight Watchers instructor was telling everyone to reward themselves, and it didn't have to cost money. They could do different things like just lock the door away from your kids and have a bubble bath. So my mom, being a very young mother of 3 kids born within 4 years, decided in our house with 1 bathroom was going to lock herself in the bathroom and have a bubble bath. Well, I got home from school sick early and I had to run quickly to the bathroom because I was sick. And I didn't make it to the bathroom because I couldn't get in because the door was locked because she was having her bubble bath. And forever, my mom, the next week she shows up, yeah, I tried that bubble bath thing and my daughter threw up all over the door. Thank you. So she was like, that was her anti-self-care. Don't tell me to take a bubble bath ever again because I got sick all over the door. So that story is a lot of information, but I think it's, my mom never thinks of a bubble bath as an act of self-care anymore. Like it just completely, 30 years later, still sends her into a stressed out tizzy about what it was like to have all these young kids at home. So I think there are some things to remember about when it comes time for you to find what works for you in finding rest. A few minutes is okay. You may not always be able to have 24 hours of unplug or disconnect time. In fact, you personally just may need more frequent breaks throughout the year, or throughout the day. Just going outside for air, some quick stretching, closing your eyes and meditating for a few minutes. It doesn't have to necessarily be a 24-hour stretch. Maybe for you, it's just spots throughout the day that keep you fueled throughout the day. Mindfulness, brief mindfulness and meditation. There are apps. I love them. I see my heart rate go down. I'll never forget, before I had to go through a bunch of layoffs, I think one of the best thing, I had an HR advisor tell me, suggest an app specifically to download and do some meditation before I went to each conversation about giving somebody some awful news. And it did help. I think it was so much more present with them in doing that. I also find things like, and when we talk about being able to disconnect and putting those phones away and not being distracted and going to them, I love those coloring books, connecting the dots, anything that is that repetitive mindfulness that just helps you take your mind away from all of those other things we are juggling. Nothing wrong with grabbing a good old-fashioned book. I have found that putting away my phone, some of the best sleep I have been getting recently is whenever I have now intentionally put the phone away and I read fiction, not nonfiction, nothing to help me business-wise, fiction before I go to sleep, just a story to shut my brain down. Again, different things for different folks, but that's something, if you're looking for something for a trick, maybe that'll help you. Nature, there's just something about nature and rest. There's just something about nature and rest, whether it be walks, gardening, being in nature, observing what's around you. Don't forget a nature, it could be your back deck. It doesn't have to be going hiking. It doesn't have to be in a cabin. It could just be a tree. I have a tree outside my office. Everyone calls it Suzanne's tree. I watch the seasons by that tree. I look at that tree multiple times a day. That tree brings me joy. And it's because I believe it's because it's connected to nature. And it helps me be mindful of what's around me. Okay, so this is, there's so much negative talk about food, but mindful eating and enjoying the beauty of food, I'm not scarfing it down, not eating for the sake of it, mindful eating and the process of cooking and the beauty of that can be very restful for some people. Again, we've stopped looking at it like that. I think a lot of folks have, because we talk about the dangers of food and we're used to like turning to food to suppress emotions, but food correctly and mindfully can bring joy and rest and all of those things. Music, enough said, right? Music, like playing music in the background, it can make you feel restful, like working on a tough project, having music on behind you. And people, I believe we were made to be in community. I think there are many beliefs, I think most belief systems, believe that there's something about people and community, and you need just to have fun with people, not work with people, just to be with people and to have community. Like this is community, just to grow with people. Community matters. Laughter, good for the soul. Schedule some time with someone who makes you laugh. You all know that one person who makes you belly laugh. And when you need to be with them, or that one video or that one movie that is like, just will make you laugh when you need to laugh. Have that on standby ready. We all need to laugh. And gratitude, thanking a higher power, journaling, whatever that is for you, but just the practice of gratitude, You don't need me. And I started going down the rabbit hole for this presentation, finding out all these stats about how burnout's high. You don't need me to pull up a statistic to tell you burnout's high. Burnout's high. We're all burnt out at sometimes. But the trick is we need to figure out how to spot the signs of when we need rest so we can see our dreams become a reality and stop the burnout before it happens. So who controls that? You do. It's up to you to make you and rest a priority. Rest is not a luxury. It's required. It's required. I intentionally didn't put anything on there that was like high dollar. You know what I mean? It's not just, a spa day, or, all of the self-care industry things, that are out there. We can find rest and increments throughout the day through doing other things. So make sure that you rest so you can be brave, bold, and unstoppable. So I do have some self-reflection questions on here, just for you to think about. When was the last time you experienced real rest? Who can you trust to ensure you experience real rest? Is there someone in your life who you can trust? And maybe you need to be finding that person you can trust to help. And that kind of goes, when we're talking, I'll talk about social media, how I found someone who can help, who I trust, who can help me rest while navigating the social media. How do you ensure those you lead experience rest? I think if you are building your business and you have people that report to you, or you're a leader at work, you've got to realize the rest isn't just for you. You need to create a culture where the people who work for you rest as well. And how are you creating that culture for them? And what are the signs that indicate you need rest? So some questions for you to think about, and just, you can always connect with me, SuzanneNadel.com. You can email me. You can sign up for my blog by emailing me, and Insta at SuzNadel. And that, I'm going to go back to these questions if you want to, or you can pop out. I can stop the share. There we go. So thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. That was amazing. And thank you for that presentation. You put the oomph and the wellness aspect of really being a brave, bold, and unstoppable woman, and commanding, being able to build and expand our businesses, which equates to having a beautiful, healthy, and balanced life. And I like how you shared, you know, the things that we shouldn't do and how you shared your stories with it, and then how you transcended into, this is what will help us to stay holistic, help us to stay well, help us to stay grounded, help us to stay energized as we force the front of, you know, building and expanding our businesses. So thank you. And I loved every, you know, I'm a healthcare practitioner. And so every aspect of taking care of yourself first, you know how many times I stress that to people and they still don't get it. Well, I got to take care of this and I got to do this. Well, well, you did that yesterday and you ran out of time. What about today? Well, girl, I got, even within businesses, entrepreneur women, we tend to focus sometimes more on the aspects of our business versus the aspects of our health and well-being, which is our greatest assets. So thank you so much. So ladies, we got time. Well, I don't know, how much time do you have? Can you give us, Miss Suzanne?
Oh, I'm here. I'm good. I'm hiding.
Okay.
They haven't tracked me down yet.
Okay, good. So until they start coming knocking.
I'm trusting.
Ladies, do you have questions for Suzanne? If you don't, you should.
I think you were great, Suzanne. That's great. I took like all these different notes. I appreciate it. A lot of the things that you mentioned definitely play into what I do. Two things. One, our church did a digital detox, which for 30 days. And of course, people were like, oh my God. And what he had said is, it's not that you need to disconnect completely. You can make your smartphone a dumb phone by turning off all the notifications, get the social media off it and all that. But that if you're in front of your computer, then do the things that you need to do. But when you are just with you and your phone and you're out and you're doing whatever, to, you know, don't be married to your phone. And if you turn off all the notifications and you turn off everything, you make phone calls, you know, that's about it. And at first it was kind of strange, and then it ended up great. And then at the end, he said, after 30 days, who wants to bring those notifications back, or who wants to bring those apps back into your phone? And so many of us realized, actually, we really don't need them. We don't need to have our emails on there. We don't need to do that. So it was a learning curve there. One of the things that I started doing that brings me rest, drives my husband nuts. He can't understand why I would possibly like this, but I do jigsaw puzzles. And I do because it's very creative. You get to see the picture. I like finding the pieces. I have everything all laid out. I have my certain ones, has to be a certain kind of puzzle and the whole thing. But it will allow me a couple hours or an hour or a day or two or whatever. And that's just my chill time. I turn on music. I usually have a glass of wine. I'm doing my puzzle and I am just in seventh heaven. He says, what a waste of time. I said, that's because you don't relax. That's stressful for you. It's relaxing for me. So I think it was really good that you said, you know, it really depends on the person, you know, what is restful for you and what is maybe, you know, chaotic for another person.
You know, kind of to what you were saying, I forget the name of the author. The book is The Leader You Want to Be. And kind of it's similar to a detox, but it's a daily thing. And it talks about creating digital zones in your house. And there are just certain zones where digital work is actually like allowed. And so like your kitchen would be like an off zone, and your living room would be off zone, but your home office, you can use your technology. And I talked about that as trying to create a work-life balance, especially if you're working from home, or to create like good lessons for your kids, to have only certain areas in your house where you're doing things digitally.
No bedrooms. I like it.
Yeah, one thing on that is I remember back when we didn't have the smartphones that we carried everywhere, and you had an answering machine, and you could go do things and then come home and decide if you want to call those people back. But what I've noticed, particularly with my kids, they think I'm supposed to be available 24/7. And I started realizing I was getting really crappy about it. So now when my husband and I go out and we're eating dinner or we're going somewhere, we literally just silence our phones and they can wait. And I've told them that you can wait because they're far away. Even if something's serious, I can't do anything at that point. And because you really do need that disconnect from all this media. It's a great tool and it's a great thing, but it can make you feel like you're a slave to it.
Well, and to your point too, that's a little bit about it's taking away boundaries, right? Like, because that's not just necessarily.
I have no boundaries.
Yeah, that's like because it makes if you and I have issues with boundaries, and you know the technology. Some of the things that I deal with that is like, is it a technology issue or is it actually a boundary issue with myself? And it's like manifesting itself through technology. But at the end of the day, I don't have the boundary with that person. And I've told some of my managers, I said, I don't care that reporter reports to you or whatever. He needs to respect your boundaries. Don't answer the phone. Don't answer the phone. And
yeah,
I think
my husband works at home. He's network engineer manager, and though he has, unless the whoop 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 comes up on the phone, which means it's a P1 or 2, he kind of ignores it too, at least for the time we're eating or something. You just got to have some space. Everybody does. You got to have some enjoyment.
I like that. Well, you know, Suzanne, I'm going to say, I'm sorry that your mom had that experience that you gave to her about taking a bath. Because, girl, I love me some baths. And
oh yeah,
you know,
the candle.
Right, get my candles lit, put my iPad on this little bitty table that I found at Big Lots that fits perfect for the bathtub with the iPad. You know, I put on some music or some meditation. I might have a nice cup of herbal tea. Well, not right now in this heat of Texas, but I might have a cold glass of lemonade or a glass of wine or something. But I love my bath times. For one, I know it's so restorative to our bodies. It allows our circulation to get to places that sometimes is constricted because our shoes or whatever. It allows us to be in essence with all of the elements, water, earth, you know, air and ether and the heat in the water, little fire. It allows me to just, you know, I'm dating myself, but do y'all remember the Calgon commercials? Calgon, take me away.
Take me away.
That is my Calgon moment. You know, I tell you, those guys did some real good programming on us when we were children, because I can remember commercials that I learned at the age of 7, and it's been 50 plus years since I've been 7, but I can remember those commercials like nothing. Or, you know, how about the music from the like 70s and 80s, you know, we were playing. I can see, I may not have heard that song for 30 years, but let me sit on the have my music going and that song come on. I can learn every word. I'm the artist singing the song, but yet I can't remember what I did yesterday at 10 a.m. You know what I'm saying? So the programming back then, it was super powerful. I couldn't just imagine how it is today. But back to the Calgon moment. So I'm sorry that your mom.
I know.
You know, it's too bad.
I enjoy them too, and she does not do a bubble bath.
It brings up my memories from like, here's this funny story. When my daughter was little, I used to go in my room and lock the door, and she would know. I think she did it on purpose sometime, but I would go in my room and lock the door, and she would hear that water, and she'd be like, "Mommy, you taking a bath? Can I come take a bath with you?" I'm like, "No, girl, I'm not taking a bath. She's like, "Can I?" And she would knock on the door, and I was just turning music up to drown her out because I knew she was okay. And I'm like, I don't care if I get 5 minutes. That 5 minutes is going to be so much more therapeutic and grounded to me. So when I have to go out and deal with these kids, you know, I'm able to be in a better place. Or if I have to go out and deal at a meeting or a client or whatever, I will be able to be in a better place. So I love taking a bath. So maybe get your mom a nice little candle and, you know, reintroduce the experience to her. make sure there's no grandkids around, none of the kids, none of y'all around. And
I do owe that to her. I mean, I'm the one that took it away from her. So you're right. I need to like give it back to her somehow.
yeah, get her a little sachet with, a little candle and some little Epsom, some Epsom salts that are scented lavender or something, and just something nice, some essential oils that she can put in the water and just have this experience, some rose petals, whatever, and reintroduce it to her, and then just make sure nobody's home when she can take it, so that she has some peace. And I bet you she will thank you tremendously, because you'll open up a whole new experience. She's like, ooh, you know what?
Make sure her phone isn't in there.
Yeah. Yeah, make sure her phone, all her electronics. I'm like, ooh, I didn't realize this was such an enlightening, loving experience. And again, it's just taking that time for ourselves. But great presentation. So any more questions for our beautiful Suzanne, who's, obviously knowing how to be that woman, that brave, bold, unstoppable woman, as she hides out and able to give us
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. See, that's a brave, bold, unstoppable woman. No questions, no more questions. Anybody?
Suzanne,
Thank you
for your presentation and sharing. I completely understand and how to and it resonates with me. I haven't been back to work a year yet. I had brain surgery a year ago, and which was bookended by another surgery that I was out for, a botched hysterectomy and some other stuff. And I used to work, surprisingly for the government, for me to say like 90 hours a week, they're like, really? They do that? We're part of that. I was part of that 20% of the government that was supporting the other 80%. But I realized during that time, I did not take time, and I ended up having to drive myself to the emergency room because I started having chest pains on my way to work. And I was like, I can't keep doing this. This is insane. I've been sleeping in my office and all this other stuff. And as the years progressed, I kept working and getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And once I had my brain surgery and I was in ICU for almost a month and had to learn to walk, talk, all that other stuff. And I came back to work and I said, I have to establish these boundaries. And when you said that, it just kind of just reconfirmed for me, like, okay, that's exactly what you need to do. I set an alarm now for 5:30 for when I get off. And if I'm off, I'm off. Like everybody knows, like, I used to be in the office till 8, 9 o'clock all the time. And now everyone at work is like, oh, if you want Natalie, you need to get her before 5 o'clock. And I'm happy that I'm able to start that culture, because I was able to reboot my business, which I had to put on hold while I was sick, and have that time to pour into myself and knowing when to say when, which has been a really long process. And I think trying to help by you even bringing it up to the point that we really need to pause, and it's a process. It doesn't happen every day. It's, some days you're really good with it, other days not so much. And understanding that time is for you, and you don't have to be apologetic about it. You don't have to explain yourself. Just say, hey, this is when I get off. This is when I'm available, and run with that. And people either have to deal with it or they don't, and not feeling guilty about it, which I think for me, which you talked about, like, well, I have to do this and I have to do that, and people are looking for me to do X, Y, and Z. And I think for us as women, because we're always going, oftentimes we don't think we can take that time to have our space. And I created a Zen den for myself in my house. And, I've used it to launch my business and helping women create that, and painting, like you said, and just things that are really intentional and really kind of give your brain a shut off. And so that you can be rested for that next day. But that finding rest was definitely hard, because I had chronic insomnia and I was up for like 3-4 days at a time. And my doctor was like, I'm not sure how you're not crazy yet, but it's coming. If you do not take this day to sit down and do nothing and find that rest. And it's so important. It's something that I think we are not taught, because it's just society is just, well, you got to show up, you got to show out, you have to do X, Y, and Z. And having to go constantly without someone telling you, okay, well, it's okay to take a pause. It's okay that people aren't looking for you 24/7, you know. And I realized I used to work in the operating room, and I realized, okay, I said, well, I'm not in the ER. What I do with my job, no one's going to pass in this space and time, and I can move on and make sure I'm good. But it took me a while to get there, to even have these conversations, to not feel guilt. And I think that's definitely something that a lot of us kind of need to give ourselves more credit for, and take heed and secure your own oxygen mask, if you will, to pour into yourself, because otherwise you will end up, your body will shut down on you. So thank you for highlighting that. That really resonated with me.
Thank you.
Yeah, the same kind of thing sort of happened to me. I was 32, and I had been at our church had a speaker in about stress and de-stressing and rest. And I was talking to her, and I was under an enormous amount of stress, because at that time I was a pastor's wife, and it was in a really bad place, in a bad situation in this small town. And I had 3 small children, and I was so stressed, and I was telling her, you know, I don't know how to de-stress. She goes, but girl, you have to. Otherwise, you can get something like cancer. 1 month later, I was diagnosed with stage 3 uterine cancer. And ever since then, I thought, wow, I got to find places where I can just rest. I'm lucky enough now that we just got a house right across from Lake Michigan, and I can just sit on my front porch and just look at the water. That's my de-stressing thing. But reading and stuff like that. But it really hit me young. Wow, I'm not invincible just because I'm 30.
You know, one thing my boss told me whenever I was like in a season of overworking, he said, you think your staff thinks you're the hero for doing all of this and, you know, taking these days and working all of it. He's like, they don't think you're a hero. They think you're crazy. He's like, these things that you're doing because you think that they love you for it. No, they think you're insane. Yeah.
Yeah, no one appreciates it. Then you wonder why nobody appreciates it. Exactly. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Very good stuff. And it's so true that you know, so often we think that we're doing things for others. And so we circumvent ourselves and we put ourselves last, or we don't allow ourselves to have the time that we need to just ground, reset, you know, just be with ourselves. And in actuality, it's so important, whether, you know, you are in a profession that you work for a company, or you're an entrepreneur starting out, or you're a seasoned entrepreneur. No matter where you are, it's so very important to your vital health, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual health, and well-being, that you put yourself first and you take the time. In my practice or experience as an emergency room trauma nurse, the majority of the people issues that came in were related to chronic stress that they didn't even realize that they had. And if you eliminate some of those stressors, then you can help circumvent some of the problems that come from that. You know, people operate in stress on a daily basis and they don't even know it because they've been doing it for so long, until they go to the doctor and they're having chest pain, and that doctor says, well, what are you doing? You know, well, I work 79 hours a day, and, you know, you know, or, and, you know, I don't eat healthy. I'm not exercising because I'm working. I'm sitting at my desk. I'm hunched over on my computer like this. So, you know, my body's all tight and tense. You know, I'm having leg issues. I have leg pain when I walk because I've been sitting at my desk. I don't get up. So my circulation in my legs has become dependent and it's not moving like it should, which precipitates, you know, blood clots and all kinds of things. And it was like, well, if you just get up and go outside for 5 minutes, you don't have to take a lot of time. Sometimes just going outside and being in nature and walking for 5 minutes gets things moving, clears your mind, and you 9 times out of 10 will come back to your desk and be so much more focused and productive. So, you know, it's very important. Again, can't emphasize the importance of taking time for ourselves so we queens can really truly build and expand and command our empires like those very successful queens from the ancient times of Egypt to up to Queen Elizabeth, bless her soul, did. You best believe they took time for their self-care and they took time for themselves so that they could be in command those positions. So I want to thank you, ladies. We are, you know, finishing up a little bit early, but that's okay. But before we go, I want to make sure that, first of all, thank everybody that signed up to watch. So thank those that are watching us live right now, because you are getting some information. And I am actually going to share, I'm going to attempt to share with all of you some more information about the virtual summit and how, about the live event and how you can become a part of that if that's something you would like to do. We, again, are going to be in the cities of Washington, D.C. area, actually Arlington, Virginia, at the Residence Inn in Boston. And let me just bring up this. So if you're interested, you want to be a part, you want to, you know, get information about what you can do to attend this event live and get up close and personal with these phenomenal speakers, then let me just share my screen and I'm going to give you the goods on exactly how you can do that. So if you are, again, interested in attending the event and I keep doing this. You really want to get up close and personal with these speakers. Here's an invitation to all of you watching. Washington, D.C. is going to be on Saturday, August 19th in Arlington, Virginia at the Residence Inn in the Boston area. There is free parking for all attendees and you can park in the garage, so you don't have to worry about trying to figure it out or pay additional for parking. Right now, these are the QR codes. You can get early bird and it's still available today and will be available for the next couple of weeks. So pick up your ticket. You want to be a VIP, you can pick up the VIP ticket and that comes with some additional bonuses and goodies for you all. If you're a woman veteran and you want to be in the house, or you know of a woman veteran that should be in the house, or you're not a woman veteran and you know some women veterans, bring them with you. The more that we can fill the room with women, supporting women to stand in our greatness and allowing us to build and expand our businesses by developing and being involved in the brave, bold, and unstoppable women's community, the better it is for all of us. We are all striving to assist our tribe, and I hate to use that word tribe, but we're all striving to assist those that are meant to work with us, those that we are here to help and serve, and those that we're here to empower and support to stand up in our greatness and not be denied. You no longer, ladies, have to be apologetic for being brave, bold, and unstoppable. I give you permission to give yourself permission to command that and wear that with a badge of courage. We all have, I want to say, boobies. And so as we sport our boobs when we in our bathing suits, you own and you sport that brave, bold, and unstoppable essence that is you, because you are meant to change the world and you have a purpose. And once you step into that purpose and you really own that purpose, not only can you create, build, and expand a business, but you can create the generational wealth that is meant for you to have and be able to share with those that you love and care about. So again, live events, Washington, D.C., Saturday, August 19th from 9 to 5, tickets here. If you want to join us in Atlanta, that is going to be on Saturday, October 14th, again from 9 to 5. p.m. It's going to be at the Hyatt Regency in downtown Atlanta. They have given us a beautiful venue and have been really supportive as corporate sponsors, as well as the Residence Inn in Arlington, Virginia. And then last but not least, as a California Golden Girl, Silicon Valley girl, San Francisco Bay Area is my home. On Saturday, November 4th, we are going to bring it to the Bay in San Francisco proper at the Galleria Park Hotel, which was in 2020, Condé Nast is one of the top 10 hotels in San Francisco. They are a corporate sponsor. We held the event there last year, and it was an amazing event, and we really brought that house down. We had people at that hotel wondering who we were, what we were doing, and why we were all so fabulous. And so those are the events. If you want to pick up a ticket, again, scan that QR code. You will not only get to see some of these speakers at some of the events, but you will also get a chance to see all the other speakers. I only could have so many, and we busy entrepreneurial ladies. So some of the women were really busy. They took time out of their day to be here with all of us to share their words of wisdom, because that's the appetizer. I like to do things appetizer, main meal, dessert, and then maybe cocktails, right? But this is just the appetizer for the main meals that is going to be happening at the event. And remember, even though we're virtually connected, it is a lot more powerful when you are in the house with these powerful, phenomenally amazing women, because you get up close and personal. You get to feel their energy. You get to feel the vibe of the event. And if you haven't heard or you haven't been to the website, go check out the Brave, Bold, Unstoppable What Women's Summit website at www.unstoppable-women's-summit.com. Scroll down and check out the video testimonials. Look at the sizzle reel. I'm telling you, lives were transformed at the events last year, and so much that after each event, for weeks after the event, I was getting email messages of how the attendees were still on this high and how they were connecting and collaborating and doing wonderful things and helping each other. And every now and then I'll run into one of them at one of my speaking events that I go to speak at, and they'll be like, girl, I am still jazzed about that event last year that I went to. Oh my God, I'm still pumped. Every time I see your face, it just takes me back. And Natalie was at the one last year in the DMV area, and look at, obviously we must have did something right, because she's back and she's here with us on the virtual summit. Because Natalie, come off mute and just share, how was it for you at the event last year?
Still I think I have your book that I was reading. I was traveling. I started traveling again for work not too long ago, and I had read it, and I have my little notes in it, and from notes that I had taken and transferred from the actual summit, and listened to Carol speaking, and of course Sharon, and just the energy in the room. And oh my goodness, I see her face, and she does the books.
Laura.
Yes. And talking
Laura.
to her, and I loved her presentation. It was so real, it was gritty, and it spoke to you. It wasn't just, the stereotypical being talked at. It was engaging. Each presenter was engaging, and there's, I really enjoyed it, obviously, or else I wouldn't be back. So, but the wisdom and knowledge that was imparted onto us as women, and having those spaces to create conversations and just about like life and just regular everyday things that I think oftentimes we don't find ourselves in the space to do as much as we have maybe our girlfriend circles, our friend circles. I think a lot of times we're much more intimate with strangers about what it is that we're going through, and we can be much more real because we may or may not see those people again. But with our friends, sometimes we kind of keep things closer to the chest, and sometimes that's to our detriment. And having those opportunities to talk and express and hear how they see their life and how their lives have transformed from whatever pivotal point they were dealing with in their lives at that time, it really resonated. Each speaker for me I was able to get a nugget for something. I've looked, my notes that I took from then, I still have, now I have one of the other magnets I have on my fridge that I look at, every day about mental health and wellness and all those things that I, of course, I try to promote with my own company. But it really just reiterated for me, like, okay, this is where we all need to be. This is an awareness that we all need to take care of and make sure we bring along as many women as we can when we're doing it.
I love it. I love it. I want you to share, because I know you, from that event, you made some connections, and the connections are still going on. Sometimes we go to events, we make these connections and then we don't see these people again. But I want you to share about the connection you made with my girl, my sister, because she's a powerful person to be connected with. So can you share a little bit about that?
So she's referencing her girl, Sharon Morton, and she's a sorority sister of mine, and she's was a connection that to this day I was on her XM radio show to talk about my company and my journey with healthcare and everything, and she introduced me to your organization, the Black Door Society, and all the amazing things you all are doing and the connections that have come from that. And Sharon has been able to connect me with other women as well, that now one of those ladies, I'm in the process of developing a wellness retreat in St. Croix next year for us. So like those connections that connecting the dots, having Sharon as just not only as a soror, but just as a confidant and a friend, and being able to be exposed to the amazing things that all these other women are doing. And it's not, and I think for me is that nobody is pretentious. And in the DMV, it is very hard to find people that are not pretentious. I'm not from here. I'm from Pennsylvania. I'm from Allentown, very, little small town or what have you. It's only 120 people in my graduating class in high school. So moving to DC over 20 years ago and having people say, so what do you do? So what do you do? Where do you work? And I'm like, I have a name and I do other things. I'm not what I do. And being in a space with other successful women that can create connections that are genuine, and they really uphold you and connect you with other women that really uplift us to go on and make impacts, huge impacts amongst other women in the area and beyond. And I can't say enough about it, because it's just opened up another world for me in a realm that I'd had, dips and dabs in, but that actually had a staying power. Because that was, a year or two ago at this point, and those connections are still going, and I'm really appreciative for those things and those inroads, if you will, and the ability and the privilege of meeting these other women that are just doing amazing, unstoppable and bold and brave things to contribute back and give back to each other, and genuinely do it without being catty, which unfortunately a lot of us see more times than not. But truly sharing information and being genuine about it is something that you don't always see, or that I've seen throughout my career. And it was refreshing to see that and to have it sustained, and checking on each other and just giving a shout out like, hey girl, how you doing? What's up? Are you good? And it doesn't have to be at length. It just really is a check-in. Are you good? Do you need anything? Can I help you? And vice versa. And being supportive of the other endeavors that we all are doing. It's a beautiful thing. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing, because again, I opened up with, that's what it was all about, the 3 C's of courage, commitment, and community. And you never know what you're going to get from a community when you become involved in it. And Natalie is a great testimony, not only just for the essence and the energy of the event and live, but beyond that, she's continued to connect and she's been able to do some things. Had she not been in the room, she may have probably never met Sharon. She may have never had that interview on XM radio. She may have never made other connections. She may have never got to see Laura, who's a phenomenal publisher of several books I've done. So it's being in the house that is important. And if you are a person, a lady out there, woman-owned entrepreneur or a woman veteran currently in the military or not, if you're a spouse of a woman veteran, of a veteran, if you're a spouse of a veteran man or woman, you are welcome at this event because for one, we want to thank you for your service and recognize and honor you, but also for women that are really wanting to elevate their business and make those connections. Connections are so powerful. With brave, bold, and unstoppable women who are unapologetic about being that way. Ladies, I'm just gonna say, it's time for us to stop apologizing. You know, when I was a little girl, I heard I was bossy and I was mean so much. Of course, I never thought I was mean. And sometimes I had to be mean because growing up around a bunch of boys, but I was told I was bossy and I never thought I was bossy. I just always knew that I was the person to be in charge. And so later, as I grew up, I read this quote about little bossy girls should be told that they're not bossy, but they're leaders in training, because I bet you everyone watching this was told at one point in time that they were bossy. And look at us, we commanding and we just expanding our empires as best we can so that we serve the people that us bossy little girls are meant to serve. So if you fit that description, you need to be in the house with us. This energy is so subdued. I've got to bring it down a bit, but this energy is so subdued on this virtual event. Wait till you get in the house. Wait till you get in the house. So I'm going to leave this up for another minute or so you can scan that QR code, bring a friend, make it a girlfriend day. Come and bring your sister with you or your girl, and y'all come hang out and get some information on how to up-level your business and be that entrepreneur that is commanding and really commanding her niche in the marketplace and serving her purpose. So with that being said, I just, again, want to thank all of you for being here today. And before we close out, I'm going to show this a little bit longer. And then I, from the bottom of my heart, want to thank all of my speakers and the attendees that are in the room with us and have been in the room and stayed with us. I appreciate every one of you. This really fills my heart with so much I guess I could say it, kick-ass energy. I'm that little chick anyways, but it's like, oh, it's Friday afternoon. We done closed it up good. We better start this weekend all right. We got a couple more weeks before the live event, but this girl is going to be juiced. I would go to the gym, but I'm afraid if I go to the gym in this heat, one, I might pass out, and two, I would kill it on the treadmill that I'd probably break it. So, I don't want y'all to read about me on the news or in the San Antonio, the news channels, this girl on the treadmill, she was running so hard that she didn't broke the dang treadmill. That would be me. And then I would fall off and hurt myself. And that's a whole nother story. But I want to thank you, ladies, for being here. Thank you all for attendees. I think the information that was shared was absolutely amazing. You can't pay for this information and get it for free. So thank you. And let me just go on and share. If you want to connect with me, here's how you can connect with me. I'm all over the place. I definitely want to, again, these ladies have been interviewed on the Blissful Living podcast. So if you want to hear more words of wisdom and get more nuggets of gold that they've shared, that they did share with us today, you want to check us out at the Blissful Living podcast, which you can go to blissfullivingforyou.com and get access to the podcast. You can go to the YouTube channel as well at Rochelle Lawson, as well as on all social media. And again, I just want to thank all of you, and I promise to honor your time. I appreciate you being here. And as the queen of feeling fabulous, I want to say namaste, which means in Ayurvedic or East Indian language, may the light in me see the light in you, because that light that we bond and see in each other will help us to light the way for others to come behind us and not have such a dark and difficult path. So again, thank you, ladies, for being here with me this afternoon. Thank you to all the listeners that may have listened to us while the YouTube was playing or watching us. I think I can say we had a pretty good time and we got a lot of valuable information. And so again, get that QR code, make sure you be in the house, because you don't want to miss the phenomenal event that these ladies, these speakers are going to be sharing their words of wisdom. And this, I told you, is just the appetizer. We finna get real funky and good with it when the main meal comes at the live events. All right, have a beautiful weekend, everyone. Thank you so much. Please connect with everyone, the speakers. Thank you, everybody. Sending you much love. And until the live event, couple weeks, Saturday, August 19th, I'm Rochelle Marie Lawson, known as the Queen of Feeling Fabulous. And I am wishing you peace to your mind, wellness to your body, and tranquility to your spirit. And may you have an amazing weekend. And if you were on this and you come in the house live, please let us know so we can just really celebrate you being that doggone bad, brave, bold, and unstoppable queen that you are. All right, ladies and everyone, take good care. Bye.